for I want to thank you so much for getting us going because I know that you have a very busy weekend with a funeral that's going on right in your home right now, and you took the time. I mean, you really set the bar high for us to step up because through you, I'm learning truly what commitment is all about. And you've never missed, and today's a day that we will miss you. But I know that what you're doing is most important. So for everyone else who is on, I just want to wish you nothing but you and your family God's blessing on this day. So thank you so much, Ari. All right. So we're going to get started. And I know that, Pedro, you have the PowerPoint. Excellent. So we want to begin, as we will do always, talking about our vision for Cameroon as Project C. We envision a peaceful, just, and inclusive Cameroon where every citizen has a voice, democracy flourishes, and the diaspora works hand in hand with communities at home to realize a national full potential. So that is one. And then let's just go right into our mission as Project C, because this is one thing that we want everyone at Project C to be most familiar with, because it's a questions that have been coming out, and it's also on our website. Project C unites Cameroonians in the diaspora and allies to foster a peaceful, democratic transition in Cameroon. Through collaboration, advocacy, and resource mobilization, we empower our communities to champion lasting change, defend human rights, and build a brighter future for all Cameroonians. This is our mission. And so, how to get involved? So first of all, as we know, every Saturday, passionate Cameroonians and supporters from around the world gather on a Zoom to strategize, share stories, and organize the future. You are welcome, no matter your background, age, or how long you've been away from home. Okay, as a diasporan, all you can do, very simple, you sign up every week in Zoom. You can join a committee, whether communications, fundraising, legal support, or other communities. We have several communities outreach. And also, one of the main things you can do, and this is the simplest thing that everyone can do, is to donate. So one of the things you can do right now is request whoever invited you. You can also request to be a part of our WhatsApp group, because during the week, that's how we choose to communicate and also get all the news and information of what's going on. And without any further ado, we're going to go in now and broadcast our news. And one of the things that we're most proud of is partnering with Mimi Mefo News every week. And we get an update of what happened in the past week in Cameroon. So let's run it.
It is another week, people, and there was no shortage of stories. In fact, this week, I wasn't even sure where to start because so many important things happened across the national territory and even beyond. We saw the headlines about politics, security, corruption, and even some lighter moments that got people talking on different social media platforms. There were also stories from Cameroon, from the regions and beyond, all important in one way or the other. We saw the horrific terrorist attack in Nigeria that left more than 200 people, innocent people dead. May their souls rest in peace. We also saw the extension of the AGOA by the Trump administration, once again raising the question of when African countries will stop acting like beggars and start acting like equal partners. We also saw the killing of Saif al-Islam Gaddafi in Libya, a sad reminder of how a violent collapse of a system in 2011 continues to haunt the country. And here in Cameroon, as usual, there were questions about the absentee landlord that we all know, Obia, has been missing again in action, and the country keeps sinking and sinking. We also had that troubling story about a doctor whose license was revoked in the United States of America for negligence involving pregnant women and babies, and he is now practicing in Cameroon with similar complaints emerging from patients. We did an investigative report of that. And you can see those stories on our website. All these stories were important, and I may deal with some of them individually during the week. But for me, just like last week, one issue kept cutting across everything, all the stories. The economy, again, because whether it's protests in Bambali, delays at the port in Douala, water shortages in Douala also, or the government borrowing billions of francs CFA, it all comes back to one simple question. How are people surviving? That is why for the second week in a row, I'm going to be focusing on the economy, not as figures on papers, but as the reality Cameroonians and many Africans are living with every day. Let's begin in Bambali. This week, business almost completely stopped there after protest over a long-standing land dispute between Bambali and Quen. Shops were closed. Markets went quiet. Transport system collapsed completely, not because people wanted trouble, but because of fear and uncertainty. Fear and uncertainty took over. Bambali is a very strategic educational town in the northwest region of Cameroon. So it is worrying that land disputes there have been allowed to drag for so long. Residents are even accusing local authorities of land grabbing. We've seen that in other regions of Cameroon. Now, protests reached the governor's office in the northwest region, and we can only hope that this finally leads to a lasting solution. Intertribal conflicts are not new in this locality, but they are far more dangerous now, given the ongoing Anglophone conflict. It's been going on for nearly 10 years now. What this story shows us is simply that when problems are ignored for so many years, they don't disappear, they explode, and ordinary people pay the price. Traders lose money, workers lose daily income, families feel it immediately. Bambili reminds us how fragile local economies have become. One unresolved issue and everything shuts down completely. Now let's talk about another unresolved issue, which is the port of Douala in the economic capital of the country. For as long as I can remember, there have been a lot of issues, problems of accountability and transparency at this particular port. While countries like Ghana, Benin, and even Nigeria have made cargo clearance relatively straightforward, in Cameroon, we are still fighting over who controls what. This week, the confusion around container scanning continued with disagreements between the Port Authority of Douala and the SGS still unresolved. For many people, this sounds very technical, but here's where it really matters. When the port is slow or disorganized, prices are going up, importers pay more money. For those who are importing from the diaspora, they can attest to that. And the delays are increasing. And all of that cost is passed on to us, the ordinary consumers. What's most worrying is not just the delay, but the confusion. Different authorities giving different instructions. An economy cannot work like that. And trade needs clarity. It needs order. And right now, the order is missing. But why did I find this story very important? You may be wondering. It is a clear symptom of a constipated system that is no longer working. For a very long time, members of the BS government have managed to pretend that he is in charge and that he is giving all the instructions. But as uncertainty grows around who will make it to a new government, whenever that is going to take place, because we are still waiting, they are panicking and trying to grab as much as they can. Everyone is scrambling. Everyone wants to grab what they can. And as the president prepares to mark his 93rd birthday, that's going to be next week, which is also going to be 11th of February, it's clear that he has little space to worry about these things. But Cameroonians have plenty to worry about, I can assure you, because dysfunction costs money. So let's talk about money. This week, the government announced that Cameroon raised $750 million on the international market. On paper, it sounds like this is some sort of good news. And they try to sell it as a success, proof that Cameroon is trusted internationally. But here is the reality. Even someone with a very bad credit history can still get a loan. The difference is the cost. of that loan. Cameroon is borrowing at a very high interest rate at about 8%. That means heavy interest payment every year. By the time the loan is fully repaid, the country would return far more than it has borrowed. That might make sense if we clearly knew what the money is being used for. But once again, we are told it's for priority projects and to settle all debts without clear details. In simple terms, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, right? At the same time, we keep seeing direct contracts, more borrowing, very little explanation. So people are right to ask, who is tracking this money and who is going to pay back, which is the question we asked last week. Because in the end, it is the ordinary citizens, ordinary Cameroonians who carry the burden. And what do they get in return? Let's return to everyday life. In Douala, many neighborhoods have been without water for weeks, even before Camwater officially announced this that there were going to be disruptions. Dry taps are nothing new to residents, particularly in the economic capital. But think about what that means. No water means that small businesses will struggle, food sellers can't operate properly, families will suffer, illnesses like typhoid, cholera would increase, bringing higher medical costs. This is the economic capital, Douala. Douala, the economic capital of Cameroon. If the biggest city in the country cannot reliably supply water, then something is very wrong, seriously wrong. You cannot talk about development while people are chasing water on a daily basis. Why did I find this story important? We are living in a country where nothing seems to work until the people demand for it. We saw a few weeks ago how citizens had to go out and protest in towns like, we saw in Mutengene, we saw in Tiko, we saw in Buya, before electricity was supplied. What it showed us was that the issue could have been resolved long time ago. It could have been resolved all along, but some people simply choose not to resolve the issue. Could it be the same with this water crisis that we are seeing in Douala? That is $1 million question. And then comes the usual excuse. It's like that everywhere. But is it? This week in Burkina Faso, the government handed over heavy construction equipment to a state laboratory so it can carry out road and building projects on its own. That they also provided 2,000 motorbikes to the police to improve security response. Does this mean that Burkina Faso has no problems? Of course not. But the message is very clear. They are doing things, not talking. So the question becomes, if a country facing insecurity and sanctions can still act, why does Cameroon, with more resources, with support, with loans, struggle to deliver just basic services to its citizens? Is the problem really the money? Or is it how decisions are being made and whether they are carried out at all? We're talking about a military government that has been there for just a few years. And why some would want to tell me that the problem is that Bia is now old and out of touch with reality. Can someone also tell me what he has achieved for the past 40 years for Cameroon and for Cameroonians, and why he is even there in the first place when he lost the election? When you put all these stories together, the picture is very clear. Cameroon is in a very critical condition. Local businesses are very fragile. Trade systems are confused. The country keeps borrowing. Basic services are failing, and ordinary people are expected to cope. These are not separate problems. They are signs of an economy that's under pressure and a system that's no longer working the way it should. The economy does not collapse overnight. It breaks slowly until life becomes harder for everyone, for every citizen. That is what stood out for me this week, among many other stories. See you again next week for a summary of stories making headlines across Cameroon and across the globe as well. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.
Okay, thank you. This was great news for Mimi. And let's go ahead and get started. I'm so sorry. I don't know if you can hear that, but somebody's insisting calling. All right. So, Eric, as we get started today, I feel like from the meetings we've had this week, I want to say we're in a crisis, but we have been in one, and the stakes could not be even higher, right? Because we're talking, the economy, which is the thread that holds our society together, amongst other things, but one of the major threads that hold the society together. And I really want you to talk about this because it is the center of where I think most of what we're dealing is at. But it's a center that is foreign to us, if you will, because as a people, we have not really been involved and understood the governance of our country. Maybe we've understood power because that's how we have seen it. Maybe, Eric, we have understood, it's kind of like the crumbs that are given to you is what you're proud of, and that's what just to put it simply. And now the society is really crumbling, but we're wealthy. We're a wealthy nation. We're one of the wealthiest nations in Africa. It's just a fact. So there's so many disparities that I want you to touch on is, first of all, because of these gaps, where there's a gap, of course, that we know. It's easy to point a finger, and rightfully so, if we're pointing it to a government that has been hijacked, by the way. That's one. But the government is the people, Eric. So if the government is the people, which is me, even in the diaspora, and those people who are part of this country, how do we get here? What is our contribution, or what is it that we have not seen that we needed to see? I really would like for us to look at this not from an accusing, because we've known how to do that so well, but as we're coming up as a nation, how do we understand that this has impacts us? What this crisis or the stakes are way higher that we're dealing with in Cameroon right now? Thank you. Good morning, by the way.
Good morning, Elizabeth, and good morning, everybody, and thank you all for good morning, good afternoon for many of us. I'm in the afternoon phase of the day because I'm in Europe. Yeah. Thank you all for joining. There's a lot that's been said there. I'll get to your question in a second and also react to a lot of the things Mimi said. One of the things we try to do, and I try to do, is to put a lot of things in perspective. The week in Cameroon, put that in perspective. And I want to start off by saying, because ultimately we will get together every week and complain about the whole range of issues, or take note, as Mimi reports, that a lot is wrong and needs to be fixed in Cameroon. So as I try to put things in perspective, I want to start off with what's really important today, and that is to know what the state of the president-elect, Mr. Issa Chiroma Bakari, is, what the state of things are around him. And the only thing I can say is he is doing well. One, he's working extremely hard with continental and global leadership to peacefully bring about change in Cameroon. It's a preoccupation of his, and he's working on that. And my sense, based on what I know, which is maybe not a whole lot, but at least it's something, based on what I know, I think he'll be there sooner than later. Can I say that and get away with it, Elizabeth? That Mr. Chiroma will be in Cameroon sooner than later? I don't know. We'll see. But I just want to reassure people that he's not on a holiday in Banjul. He's working very hard. And hopefully we'll get there soon. And what do I mean by getting there soon? I mean, we will hopefully get to a point where Cameroonians can do what they need to do to fundamentally turn things around in the country. That's what this means. Turn things around in the country. because there's so much that's wrong, even based on the report you just got from Mimi and from all of you who are following us from Cameroon. And I know that the number is in the thousands on the range of platforms that are carrying this event, this Zoom conference. You all know that a lot is just not right and that things could be much better. You may have heard, and I was hoping we would put that on this week or maybe next week, may have heard of this analysis of on the state of the Cameroonian economy, which essentially tells you that we're one of the richest countries on the continent, as Elizabeth said, but we're in such a poor state of management of our resources. In that report, they're wondering how Cameroon, with all the loans the country has taken from the World Bank, the IMF, the European Development Bank, the African Development Bank, and so on, the loans we've taken over the years, and not one of those loans has been shown to effectively produce the results, the outcomes for which they were taken. I am hoping that the journalists who are listening to this, at least one or two or three of them, Cameroonian journalists, can investigate the billions of dollars, not CFA francs, billions of dollars taken in loans over the last 2, 3, 4 decades. Investigate what has happened to, those loans. Roads not built. Dams, electricity, to produce electricity. Just the amount of money taken to produce electricity over the last 4 decades. Just those loans alone could have not only lit all of Cameroon, including villages in Yokoduma or in Kambe or wherever. The loans, the dams for which the loans were taken could have not only lit the entire Cameroon, but would be exporting electricity and getting a lot of foreign exchange based on that. So some journalists, and you're telling me I used to be or still am a journalist, why am I not doing this work? No, I just don't have the time yet. And as soon as I do, I would love to do it. Investigate just what has been done with the loans that have been taken in the last 4 or so decades. Disaster of a story. But if any journalist is listening to me and wants help with that, please let me know. So those loans, as Mimi mentioned, those loans have left us with a debilitating debt crisis. Our economy is not functioning because we are a heavily indebted country. And the tragedy is we're in a state where we have to go out and get more loans to service the loans. Because if we don't service those loans, we cannot get those, the new loans. So it's a catch-22. Mr. Mutazi this week signed new loans, 60-something billion CFA francs, to service loans and pay salaries, not to produce wealth, not to generate the kind of income that will allow us to make more money and pay some of the loans and also achieve development. Cameroon is in a stagnant state of affairs now. And look, go to your ministers, talk to your military people, talk to the administrative officials. Find out from them if things are working. Find out for yourself. And this is the problem we are in now. So somehow we have to figure out how we stop this and this process of debt accumulation. I really hope we can get to that. We must, and the more in the pipeline, you must have heard of the 1.6 trillion francs. That Mr. Biya has supposedly authorized. 1.6 trillion francs. We can't afford that. What that might mean is for the next 50 plus years, Cameroon will not be in a position to even build a road. This is serious. Let us, again, I'm appealing to the journalists. Just put out a list of all the things that were promised in the lead up to the presidential election. Just a list of all the things that were promised by every single minister. And find out, nobody's even talking about those things anymore. There's no more effort being made to deliver on any single promise made. And anyway, they'll tell you Mr. Biya didn't make it. He didn't make it because he didn't go out campaigning. And the trip to Marwa was a brief show, very brief. But all of the promises that were made by every single minister. Let's take one example. Sonara in Limbe. What has happened to that? I don't want to put, I don't want to embarrass. I'm not here to embarrass anybody. I'm certainly not some of the great friends I have in government, including the Prime Minister, for example, whom I have the utmost respect for. But these are facts that Cameroonians have to internalize and analyze and try to understand and say, and then get to that point where they say enough is enough. Because the changes that are being promised by Mr. Chiroma and the team working with him, and you all know I'm on the external side of that team. I'm not on the internal side, but I'm on the external side. But yes, I offer ideas to the former president. That's the whole point. We want to change these things. And you must be asking, how will he change it if the country is so over-indebted already? The first thing Mr. Chiroma may want to do, and I think he will do it, is just seek external talent. Cameroonians in the diaspora. There are enough people there who will help him and help the country turn our economy around. There are enough. From all the international institutions to Cameroonians who are advising heads of state or governments across Africa and in other parts of the world. Hopefully next, a Cameroonian who advised until recently, at one time, the government of Singapore. Can you imagine what experience brings to the table? I'm talking about Mr. Albert Zofak. He advised, the governments in Asia. We will bring, there's a Cameroonian, Ms. Vera Songwe, advising the president of South Africa. There's a Cameroonian advising the president of Rwanda and the amazing things Rwanda is doing. From, there's Mr. Diko Mukete, who's out there. There is Achaleke, who's out there. Look, we can name them. They're Cameroonians across the universe who can help transform Cameroon. One of the first things we will do, for example, is renegotiate all of our mining contracts. Those are the resources God gave us to help build Cameroon. But not a single mine in Cameroon has resulted in the production of not a single natural resource from not only mines, but also our forests, our cotton. None of that has resulted in a transformation of our economy. We renegotiate all of that. And as I say this, I want to, through my own voice, send a warning to all those people who are ready to give Cameroon billions in loans. Tell them when a true government is in place, those loans will either be renegotiated or not repaid, because you should not be dealing with a government of vultures, which is what's happening now. I take an example of the street lamps that we've just suddenly heard about, and I'll tell you why the 21 billion francs in loans are being negotiated with the Chinese to give us those lamps. Is it street lamps that we need the most of at this time over the needs of our hospitals and our schools and so on? the rest of our infrastructure? What streets are they lighting to show the dirt that we have in our cities? We have to try and stop all of that. But let me, for those who are listening, the reason for these street lamps is because the government would then have to take a loan. Something will be shown that, street lamps have been bought, but it allows those in charge of the economy today to refuel their offshore accounts, to send money out to their offshore accounts. And I challenge Mr. Mutaze or anybody else to say the contrary. That's the point. And proof of it, they can get those street lamps. Togo has engaged with the same company, Suna Design, the Republic of Togo, and is getting each street lamp for half, less than half the cost they're getting a street lamp in Cameroon. The same company. And the irony is, individuals in Cameroon, some entrepreneurs in Cameroon have been able to obtain those street lights at half the cost of what Togo is getting it for. So in effect, some Cameroonian entrepreneurs can get those street lamps at less than a quarter of the 1 million, which is going to cost Cameroon for every street lamp. That's just an example. There could be a whole lot more. So look at what's happening at the port in Douala, which Mimi mentioned. We now have total confusion. The powers that be are now, the clash of the titans is taking place in Douala, where the two clans, let's not say any other way, it's two clans that are clashing. There's the Ngongo clan and the Mutaze clan. They call them the Nanga clan and the Ekang or the Bulu or whatever clan, Bulu. That's what the man on the streets calls it. And this is it. Understand this. And what they're trying to settle is who gets what. And the reason again is because through the port in Douala, a third of the money that supports our budget comes in. And it could even be much more than that. Could be a whole lot more than that. A third of the budget comes in through the port in Douala. So these people know that a lot of money can be obtained if they're controlled. And the whole point of SGS, one of the companies, Société Générale de Surveillance, one of the reasons, the SGS is the one that reports how much money we get from imports and exports. And now, and it's based on that money that people make payments. Turn around, they want to give that to Transatlantic, which is controlled by Ngongo. Again, let's put it all out there. And if Mr. Ngongo says no, I'll prove it to him. We'll prove it that it is him and his cronies and his family. Cyrus Ngongo, the Director General of the ports in Douala, is related to Ngongo. The other fellow is in charge of the port in Kribi, is related to Ngongo. It's their camp that control Transatlantic. And if they can have their hands on it, then they have their hands on a third of what supports the budget in Cameroon. And Mr. Mutaze and his camp is saying, no, you can't control that. And they got to a point last week where they were ready to negotiate to split the cake in half. Thank God, the lady in charge of SGS said, no, I'm not coming to that meeting. That's not what this is all about. SGS, we're in charge of this. That's the contract signed by the government. And thank God somebody had had the good sense of saying that contract has to be signed by the government, therefore by the Prime Minister. And that's how Mr. John Gute stepped into the picture and tried to resolve it and gave this SGS the authority to say, no, we're not going to negotiate a splitting of the pie. We're not going to do that. So I'm just hoping to put a lot of the news in Cameroon in perspective. If I talk about Cameroon, I tend to talk a lot, so I'm going to stop in just another minute after saying that there are a couple of things I picked up in the news this week. The fact that Cameroon, in all of Africa, and the 54 countries in Africa, Cameroon is the third in terms of earnings by the diaspora. The Cameroonian diaspora earns more money across the world than all the African countries except South Africa and Kenya. So connecting this to Elizabeth's plea for funding, step up to the plate. Nobody here, neither Elizabeth nor Irene nor myself, nor anybody, is here to demand your money to use it as most Cameroonians would use it. We're just saying give the money so that we can do the right things. One of the things we want to do is the publication of a book by the president-elect. I don't know if I was supposed to say this, but I've always told them, don't tell me things you don't want other people to know. Okay, so they've told me that book is ready. It's ready to go. We need money to bring it out. So you'll be hearing a little bit more from us with regard to that. And finally, I want to end up saying that there's a genuine effort to ensure that there's peaceful transition in Cameroon. And I want to call on, we issued a statement to this effect, which will be, you may find in the newspapers. I saw a copy in the Messager today. We're calling on citizens to maybe to be angry enough, because they're not, and to say no to what's going on in the country now. And we're calling on the military to be the Republican army it is, not serve an individual or individuals, a group of individuals, but serve the nation. Thank you. Elizabeth.
Okay. Wow. I was writing and then I stopped writing. It's like there's so much there. I just want to just digress just a little bit before we come back. And I want to say that there's several links. Please share this with other people. These are links on social media where we're broadcasting live so other people can join. Also, you would find, if you want to get more information on our project, please go to www.projectcameroon.com, where you can also donate. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. But I really want to ask everyone to really stay engaged and preferably see how you can get more people engaged. This is really our business. This is really in our own house. And it's almost like you have been kidnapped or your house has been taken over by somebody else, and nobody outside of that home, even if somebody gives you another more even beautiful home outside of that to stay in, nobody, or people are helping you out, nobody is going to feel good, and you would not forget for generations because you were taken out of your house. And so this is really in the center of us. So Eric, thank you so much, because there's a frustration here, and I really want Cameroonians to feel frustrated. It's so easy when the situation is overwhelming for you to just push it aside or say, I'm doing good, I don't need any of that. And sometimes we take pride in saying, I have nothing to do with that, and it's nothing. But I really want us to think about the children, maybe 10-year-old right now, who are not voting yet, who don't even understand what that means. And when we say no, and somehow, probably not by your own doing, but really by the grace of God, you are outside of the country and most likely thriving. At the very least, we are outside of that. And so we're not thinking how this really impacts us. But I really want us to hold that 10-year-old in mind, because it is my child, it is your child. If you have a child and you understand that, then you know what that means. And who is saving? Nobody can save you, only the parents, and I know in this country that even in foster care, and sometimes you think, oh my goodness, why would they have this parent still have this child? But the first option, the second option, the third, maybe the fifth is to take them away, but it's always keep them with their parents. Are you with me? We feel this. Cameroon is ours. So Mr. Nzesu, I want you, Eric said a lot, and I want you to go there. And I want this to be relatable to your average Cameroonian. This is really my burden burden. You know, a lot of things have been discussed on top of our heads. And some of us, you know, even when in Cameroon, don't know a lot about what's going on, you know? And so we leave Cameroon, maybe for educational purpose or whatever, and then we come here, and some of us are not going back for obvious reasons, right? Many of us, and I hear 4 million, are not going back for obvious reasons. So you have played both parts. You're in, you've been out, right? And now you're in. And you have an option to escape if you really wanted to, let's be clear. But you have taken the stand that you've taken, which is very honorable. But I want you to make this relatable to your diasporan, because these are not big figures that are just flying up in the air. These are real things, you know. Ate Taku says, if 15 tons of gold disappears annually from Cameroon, with gold at $120,000, you know, what's that, kg, also kilograms, and then what does he say? That it is 1.8 billion unaccounted annually. So our country is so rich, and this huge, I know for me, this huge numbers can just escape you. But Leopold, I want you to make this relatable. How does this have to do with a person from the diaspora who is thinking, my kids are going to school, I'm paying my taxes, I'm voting in this country, I am good to go. Please don't talk to me about Cameroon. I want you to talk about how this crisis is in the center of all of us. Thank you so much.
Il faut le dire en français, Monsieur le Paul.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
All right. Merci,
Yes.
merci.
Yes.
Non, il faut dire que c'est extrêmement pénible de vivre ce que nous vivons ici. Et Elisabeth, tu avais parfaitement raison. On aurait pu vivre à l'étranger, mais il faut être vraiment clair. Tout pays se développe aujourd'hui en grande partie grâce à sa diaspora. On le voit en Chine, on l'a vu au Rwanda, on l'a vu au Kenya, on l'a vu au Ghana, on le voit en Côte d'Ivoire aujourd'hui. Il y a des mesures incitatives que les gouvernements responsables prennent pour pouvoir faciliter cela. Et la difficulté que nous avons au Cameroun, c'est justement que nous n'avons pas encore vraiment prise de conscience collective. Nous fonctionnons encore beaucoup en solo. Et croyez-moi, quand on échange en privé avec les hauts responsables et même membres de gouvernement, ils sont vraiment en privé, ils sont très embarrassés, très embarrassés par ce qui se passe, parce qu'ils savent ce qu'il faut faire. Il ne faut pas toujours leur jeter la pierre dessus. Ils savent, mais ils sont pris, ils sont tenus par quelque chose. Et c'est en ça qu'il faudrait effectivement soutenir que le problème du Cameroun est systémique. C'est un système qui a mis beaucoup de temps. Et en systémique, il y a justement la notion, on ne va pas être technique, la notion d'entropie du système. C'est-à-dire qu'à un moment donné, le système se déconstruit, se désagrège. Et au Cameroun, avec du recul, nous sommes dans cette phase-là. Mais maintenant, on ne peut pas être au sein de l'océan en train de chavirer et ne pas tendre la main à sa diaspora qui a l'avantage d'avoir du recul, suffisamment de recul pour pouvoir envoyer des bouées de sauvetage. Et tu viens de le dire, Elisabeth, le fameux scandale de l'or. Si on parle de 15 tonnes, c'est la source d'un seul pays. Parce qu'il y a d'autres pays qui ont reçu aussi un certain nombre des quantités d'or. Si cet or-là, si les gens aimaient vraiment leur pays, cet or nous dispenserait largement de tous les emprunts que nous sommes en train de faire en ce moment. On n'aurait plus besoin d'emprunter cet argent, tout au moins pour, je dis à ces conditions-là, c'est-à-dire que cela hypothèque 2-3 générations de Camerounais, donc y compris les enfants qui sont dans la diaspora. c'est vraiment préoccupant et Eric l'a dit tout à l'heure, nous pensons tous à un changement vraiment dans un sens pacifique. Nous le souhaitons. Mais ça, une chose est de le souhaiter, une autre est de pouvoir la réussir. Parce que les pays où les changements étaient plus brutaux, ceux qui ont pris la relève, nous disons clairement les hommes ont tenu, nous avons plusieurs cas de pays qui sont en train de prendre la bonne direction. En tout cas, qui redonnent l'espoir parce que nous devons réenchanter l'espérance dans ce pays parce que ça a foutu le camp. Et de ce point de vue-là, il y a beaucoup de groupes de Camerounais qui se préoccupent de cet aspect, mais qui n'ont pas toujours voix au chapitre, qui n'ont pas toujours accès parce qu'on a l'impression que ceux qui proposent des solutions pour pouvoir s'en sortir sont muselés et sont combattus. Mais nous pensons qu'il y a vraiment un bon espoir pour qu'il y ait un sursaut. Mais j'ai bien peur que ce sursaut ne se fasse qu'à l'issue d'un électrochoc. Lequel? Voilà en fait la question. Mais il y a vraiment bon espoir parce que, croyez-le, beaucoup de gens ici au Cameroun se préoccupent des voies de sortie. Mais pour l'instant, les scandales comme ceux du port, les scandales comme ceux de l'or et autres, les médias, Eric fait bien de rappeler que des journalistes devraient davantage s'engager, mais il y a encore ce régime de peur qui les habite tous. Il y a des gens qui n'osent pas. Certains le font, mais la répression est encore très forte. Mais je crois que il faut le dire clairement, même ceux qui sont en charge de la répression se préoccupent de l'avenir de leurs enfants. Ils savent très bien que cela peut changer à tout moment. Parce que au-dessus de nous, humains, il y a des instances plus spirituelles qui dirigent les événements, parce qu'on ne peut pas tout contrôler. Contrairement à ce qu'on dit, nous ne sommes pas maîtres du temps. Ce n'est pas possible. Donc, il y a cet espoir-là. Voilà un peu ce que je peux dire pour justifier du fait que, bon, nous croyons que même de l'intérieur, nous pouvons, en synergie avec la diaspora, œuvrer pour que ce pays puisse retrouver la place qui devrait être la sienne et qui a toujours été la sienne, parce qu'il faut bien le dire, ce Cameroun a été bien meilleur que ce que nous vivons aujourd'hui. Il a été bien meilleur. Des compagnies étrangères venaient réparer leurs bateaux, leurs avions à Douala il y a plusieurs années. Pourquoi ça a changé? Les rangers des militaires, les motos et autres étaient assemblés ici, au Cameroun. Il y a une trentaine d'années, une quarantaine d'années, pas plus. Pourquoi tout cela est parti? Pourquoi? L'avion Camer allait dans chaque province de ce pays. Je partais de congé de Douala pour Yaoundé par avion. Le 737 faisait 22 minutes et le billet d'avion coûtait 15 000. Non, mais attendez, ce n'est pas de la mer à boire quand on veut sortir le Cameroun de là. Donc, c'est cette fierté-là que nous devons retrouver. Et de ce point de vue, la diaspora, qu'on le veuille ou pas, ce n'est pas que toutes les solutions doivent venir de l'extérieur. Non, même ceux qui sont au Cameroun étaient diaspora à un moment donné. Donc, c'est cette synergie, de cette fierté-là que nous devons retrouver. C'est ce que nous demandons à nos dirigeants de retrouver, cette fierté qu'ils ont connue, parce que tous ont connu ces périodes de grâce au Cameroun. La SNI au Cameroun était dans la plupart de ces entreprises et puis on les a vus prospères. Et la plupart des cadres de la SNI, suite à ces succès-là, ont été à la tête d'un certain nombre de sociétés d'État. Mais, je le redis, c'est notre système qui est en train de mourir sous nos yeux et puis nous semblons un peu impuissants. Voilà ce que je peux dire pour l'instant, Elisabeth.
Right. Wow. We're affirming some of the things that we already know. And we were already heading that way into a developed nation. We've never lacked anything. And so we're talking about a crisis in a dictatorship that has created, I almost feel like, I hate to use this, but the countries who have suffered from famine. And sometimes you can see, because of the arid lands, how this can happen. But we're getting there. I don't know if I'm the only one. Please, let's say your comments on the chat. But in what I've been listening to in these conversations in the past week, at one point I thought, whoa, it's almost like our country is at the verge of a breakdown, total chaos. Is this, Eric, am I, yes? Yeah, this is true. Are we there? Are we close to that?
We're at the edge. There's no question about that. We've moved to that. Literally, countries. Is President Ufewani who said countries never end up in jail. You can never jail a country, right? That's true. So Cameroon will continue to live and survive. And as Mr. Bia himself said at one time, if Yaoundé breathes, Cameroon lives. Mm-hmm. So Cameroon will continue to live because somehow Yaoundé will continue to breathe. But is that what makes a nation? Is that what makes a great nation? The answer certainly is no. Can Cameroon be a great nation? Yes, Cameroon can be a great nation. What stops us from becoming that?
So for a people, Eric, I'm going back to the people because, listen, we can bring all the stats. Last week, we had the stats here, the facts here, the figures, here's this and that. And we've had the experts in the past, 3 or 4 weeks discuss, I just want us to talk normal. This is talk normal. So the gap here that, Leopold and Eric, I want us to just chat and please, put your comments on the chat. I want us to have this discussion. I want us to get into money. But before, I want to say there's a gap. If for a people who maybe we didn't even know that we thought we had a government running and it started fizzling away 43 years ago, and we didn't even know what that really meant. And as it continues to fizzle away, we're now in a situation where we don't even know who we are, right? Because it's been taken over. So in that place of not knowing who we are, we have not identified and we've not taken ownership of our country. And what I have noticed, I could be wrong, is that, we have to belong as human beings. And so we have belonged to tribal because, the Bamileke clan, which is half of what I am, the Meta clan, we have been a part of this, and that we can control because there I know who I am, right? And so I contribute to that. Let's, just for example, and then maybe the school, the alumni, which are very strong. But I don't know that as Burkina, as even Nigerians, as Kenyans, we have really understood how to be together as a nation. Are you with me? Together, because we've been divided and taking pride in the division without even understand how bad that is. And I think this is what we're seeing. And I don't know if I'm wrong or I'm too out of topic, but I want you to talk about that. I want you to talk about, I want us to go to what everybody can understand. Where are we? How did we get here? How can we get out of it? And I want us to get to why money is important. But first, let's talk about how we have been disunited and taking pride in being disunited. What is it like to be patriotic, Eric? And I just want us to have that discussion. What is it like to have patriotism and be a full Cameroonian? Would you say that we are, as we, in our soccer teams and all of that? Or if not, what does that mean?
Yes. Well, I suppose our two speakers are on standby, right?
Oh, great.
Invited them to come back to respond to the millions of questions and to give us a perspective. So Eugène Nyambal and Benjamin Ngongang are on standby. We'll be bringing them on soon. But to answer your question, and I'm hoping that Herman is also here. Herman Fojo is also here. But to answer your question, we are not a nation yet. It is clear we need to build the Cameroon nation. And you build a nation by having everybody identify with national symbols. You build a nation by pursuing a policy of nationhood. You build a nation by inspiring people to think alike and work together. We've not even started that process. If we had, in 1960, we would have had bilingual schools in 1960, so that every Cameroonian, by 1970, we should have banished English and French as the identifying elements, because everybody would be speaking English and French. We would have encouraged some form of national lingua franca that will allow us to communicate across the country and be understood. I go to Kuseri, I'm understood. I come down to Yokodoma, I'm understood. I go to, wherever, Bali, and I'm, any Cameroonian. But unfortunately, we've not begun the work of identifying these national symbols. We've not. So there's still a lot of work to be done for us to become Cameroonian. I'm proud to be Cameroonian. The national team, the Indomitable Lions, is the closest we've come to saying there's something we can all hang on to. I'm proud when I'll tell you the story. I went into my first visit ever to Miami, Florida, many years ago. I came, I wanted to go around the city, and my friend who invited me said, "Oh, go into the bus, tell them you want a ticket that allows you to sit in and travel around the city." And as I went into that bus, and I tried to express myself, the driver didn't understand English in Miami, Florida. It was Spanish. And somehow somebody understood the problem we had, both of us, and then interpreted on my behalf. And as soon as the driver said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Cameroon." His eyes opened. He said, "Roger Mila." And I said, "Yeah, Roger is my friend, and I know him well. And we actually even lived close by at one time." For the rest of that day, I didn't pay $1. I traveled around Miami for free because of Roger Mila and because of the Indomitable Lions. And I could say, then, I'm proud to be a Cameroonian. No, we've got work to do. Mr. Chiroma is committed to helping us begin that process. And I think, you're totally right. Cameroonians should know we're not a nation yet, but we will. And there are lots of people out there ready to help, help us move in that direction. So I don't know, Elizabeth, do you want to call on our guests?
Je voudrais rapidement dire quelque chose à ce sujet, Eric, pour Elisabeth. Non, il faut dire que l'impunité dans laquelle nous vivons au Cameroun n'a pas favorisé ce sentiment d'unité. Nous nous comportons au Cameroun comme si depuis une quarantaine d'années, depuis 82, il y a eu création de nouvelles ethnies au Cameroun. Non, ce n'est pas possible. Et Eric fait bien de parler du football. En 90, quand on était encore passionné, dans le 11 entrants de l'équipe nationale, il y avait 8 ou 9 Bassas, parmi lesquels 2 frères, les frères Bic. Ça ne gênait aucun Camerounais. On avait des résultats. Alors, pourquoi est-ce que ça a changé subitement? Donc, l'impunité. Et quand on suit les discours de haine qui sont propagés sur certains plateaux de télévision impunément, cela ne favorise pas cette culture du sentiment national. Voilà un peu ce que je voulais dire.
Et je crois qu'il faut ajouter le fait que, enfin, je reviens au président Aïdjo. En quittant le pouvoir en 82, le président Aïdjo a refusé. Il avait le pouvoir de nommer qui il voulait.
Exactement.
Comme président. Mais il a refusé de passer ce pouvoir à un de ses frères du Nord. Il a choisi un frère du Sud. Parce que pour lui, non seulement M. Biya était du Sud, donc représentait ce secteur géographique du pays, le Sud,
tout à fait,
mais aussi il était chrétien. Donc, ils ne voulaient pas donner l'impression que ce n'est que les musulmans qui peuvent avoir le pouvoir.
Exactement, Eric.
Ça, il faut reconnaître.
Et ne disons pas qu'il avait tort, nous pensons surtout pas ça. Donc,
I'm not going to say that.
il y a beaucoup de choses à faire encore.
Okay.
Mais
Yeah. I just, we just said President Aïdjo gave the power to Mr. Biya consciously because of national unity, wanted to create that nation of Cameroon. He knew he was giving it to a Christian of the South. He didn't want, he could have given it to Musa Yaya, who is from the North. Could have given it to another a Muslim from the South, Momonjoya, or anybody else. He didn't. He gave it to a Christian from the South because the nation had to recognize the fact that it was not about Christianity, not about Islamism. No, it was about being Cameroonian. Anyway, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, we can't hear you.
Oh,
You're muted.
Muted. I just wanted to add a quote in the chat says, talking about national unity, we have to create a national narrative. And Dr. Allen says that, thank you for keeping the spotlight on this mess in Cameroon every Saturday. What is going on should be unacceptable to everyone. Isn't it time to roll out an economic and other measures to stifle the government externally and internally? Stop these high interest loans. Isn't it easier in the current mess? That's where we're headed. And I just want to say that if you're one of our guests today, and I know there's a lot happening, and I know that, Eric, just so you know, I sent you a text. We're going to be having, we just have to pivot today. Let's just stick in here together because, some of the people are not able to get on. But let's move it forward to Dr. Allen's question, which is extremely important. Because we have to get to the center of it. I think at this point, after this election and the hijacking of a government, and the people who have hijacked understand that that's what they have done. We're not living in a space where we don't know. They know who they are, we know who we are, and we're at war right now. And I think everybody agrees that there's a problem. But I think the bigger problem, which we're not agreeing, which is why I was going to the fact that are we together as a country? Because, let's just say that if the house is divided, then other people can come and occupy it. But if the house is united, the unity is not in the walls of the house. The unity is in the occupants of the house. So if that house is united by mind and spirit, it is hard for people to take over. So we need to talk about this. There are certain things that, for us diasporans, high educated, top professionals, we may think this is not important, but people, let's be real. Okay, let's be real. What is our stake? And that's what we've not understood. What we need to do, how we can contribute to this. And it's really where the center lies. And I want to divert and say, isn't money the number one thing? Okay, Benjamin is here and we're happy he's here. So we're going to introduce him in a second as soon as he gets on camera. But I wanted to talk about what if we're disunited, which is, as we have all agreed, we have not been as a nation. I think that's one of the reasons, and I want this to be public. We are struggling raising funds. I want to talk about it because it should be out in the open. I gave an analogy last week that if we have 4 million Cameroonians, and we all are not living in the same house and we don't have one connection forum that we're on, that's true. But we're all linked up, right? We're linked up. So what if each of us was to give $1? That would be 4 million, just $1. And if we decided to give and represent people in a household, let's just say $7, what would that be? So we have not even understood the simplicity of an action that can unite us and can take these people are like, I think Eric, I don't know if you had mentioned in a previous meeting we had, or it was over here, but they're punching, trying different things. Is this going to work? How far can they go? Are we taking the military? Let's see how we can stretch things, and that's what they're doing because they are crumbling. And if we as Cameroonian want, we can get them out today. So I guess the thing I want us to consider is what is it going to take? Because like I've been saying, I've heard people say, oh, you want to raise funds, you can do this and you can do that. If we don't realize together as Cameroonians, and we have never seen the priority of ourselves together as Cameroonians before our village congregations, not putting that down, but it has to be talked about. Before being the Bamileke, the Awondo, all these things, and seeing Cameroon to be one, how will we ever? Because I don't care how many water holes are bored, in some village, it's not, as we now know, it's not going to change our country. So what is the priority? And because we have attempted several times, doesn't mean we have failed, because everything that has happened from SDF, excuse me, but Kamto and all the different people that we know have got us even closer. And today, for the very first time, this conversation is still at the center. When they thought, oh, we have a crisis, it's going to be over as usual, but we're still talking about it. So I really want a challenge to us Cameroonian people is, do we understand why we don't want to give? Do we understand why we don't trust? Do we understand why? And I want us to light up the chat, because I would love for us to talk about this. Okay, so this is coming. We're going to stay with money today. It's easier for us to blame. Remember, we've had the culture of blaming, and rightfully so. I'm not saying, but now that we've been blaming for 40 years under our pillows, and maybe now we can actually talk, what are we going to do? Are we
I think Kenny, I'm just going to say Kenny is here to take us on that road.
Well, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. We're not going to do a quick fix. Yeah. We're going to talk. Kenny's going to talk about the ways that we can, coming. But I want us just to start thinking about, as a people, how am I a Cameroonian if I'm not contributing? And am I blaming a situation that I believed was going to save the country a few years ago that has turned to be a worse crisis because we're divided along the lines of language? Are you with me? And so because that didn't work and I was giving part of my paycheck, that's only an example I'm giving. I don't know.
May I just say just one?
Yes, please. Yes.
Il est difficile de remplir une baignoire qui est perforée. Donc, le problème n'est pas d'abord l'argent, mais la vision. L'argent pour quoi faire? Parce que, de ce point de vue-là, pourquoi est-ce que chaque dollar de la diaspora n'irait pas chez M. Botazé qui est en train de vouloir emprunter de l'argent? Non, je veux dire que la vision d'abord. Et ensuite, le reste. Et nous n'avons pas de vision. Nous n'avons pas de vision. Donc, c'est pour ça que je dis qu'il ne faudrait pas qu'on mette de l'argent comme première priorité. C'est tout ce que je voulais dire.
This is so important. The vision is true, because without a vision, the people perish. So and that's what we're going to talk. What is the position? We're here on Project C. And we all, including everyone listening, have been sacrificing this time every Saturday. So we're here on Project C. And so what is it that we're going to do as Project C to raise funds? That's what's happening. What are we going to do on Project C to raise funds? This is important. And so we need to have, like Ms. Nzesu talked about, we have to talk about where we are and how we can start raising and making that a central thing. And so we're going to talk about the vision. And I think, Monsieur Ngongang, I see Leopold, this is the problem. I can tell the lights just got off.
Yes, light just got off here. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry.
I mean, how else could we make this? Benjamin was on, he's coming back on. I was going to introduce him. This is a situation.
Yeah, I hope Benjamin is not in the dark, but he's here.
I know, exactly. He's here, and we want to get him in, and we want to keep this on, our role, not just the blame on the people. We're aware of the crisis we're in and almost the breakdown of our country as a nation. And so we want to talk about, then what is our role center. So Benjamin, I don't know if you can get on camera. And if you can't, with the situation happening now, I don't know where in Cameroon you are. I know that the lights go off in different. Okay, you can. Okay, this is good.
Yeah, sorry for joining late. My network is actually not working very good because I was stuck in a funeral ceremony lasted very long.
Yes.
For very long.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, what is going on in this dear country of ours? Benjamin can hear us.
Yes, he can hear us, but Benjamin, we can't hear you. If you can hear us, and I know we have a connection situation, so if you can get yourself to a location where because we definitely want to get your feedback, that would be great. Okay, so we're going to come back to that. We know he's here, and I want to go back to the chat. Let's get involved today. This is, we've been listening for weeks, experts. I want us to take this control of this situation. Everyone who is spending time this morning, whether you're the one speaking or not, does matter. So please type in so that we can really dice out where we are and really get towards a call to action. A call to action. We can not just come every week, it turns into entertainment and talk about what we can do. We can do this. This is by no stretch of our imagination impossible, but more possible. Okay, so we have Romuald? Like Romuald is yes, who said number one, vision. Number two, people that will implement that vision. The right man. I think we have the right man. We have the right guy, and he has a vision. But right now, he cannot get in the country. So what is a vision that we have right now as Project C? We've already shared the mission and vision statement so that we can contribute and be able to help. So just so I share this, the money that we're raising, Eric talked about a book, and I think that, Eric, it was right for you to talk about the book. Most of us has found that there's been a silence on, we want to hear from our president. We can't hear him. There's silence. And I am not in doubt that his silence means he's absent. No, he is working. And most of this work has to be underground, really. But we want to know, who is this guy, right? So he's written a book that talks about his personal life, his life in jail, really what has made him to become the man that really moved Cameroon in a way that has never been moved before. And he talks about the policies, what he plans to change as soon as he takes over. And this book is already ready. But again, based on where we are, they've already put in, from my knowledge, almost $40,000 into the writing, into the publishing of the book. And now we need to raise, because this needs to get out. It needs to get out in hard copy, in soft copy, and it needs to get on this side of the aisle, okay? And make it, I think it really needs to be available for us in the diaspora. And we can have this book as soon as a month. We start having it printed out or have it in soft copy. But we need to pay our Cameroonian bills. Are you with me? So I want us to really think about, please, chat. Let's chat up on this. This, I think, is a priority. It is a priority because as soon as we can have the book and we can have this guy known in print and know what he stands for, many of us just saw what he did and we're excited about it, but we may not even understand that in light of where they've been trying to kill him and we're having all that we're going through now. We want the book to be out. And that is one reason we're contributing. That's one. Here's the second thing. As this happens, the people who have been locked up, one of the reasons why I think it's challenging, I have heard, to form a government. I'm not speaking for Chiroma by no means, but I want us to reason this through. If he had been rightfully elected, even if there was a scuffle, we would already have a new government. He would have one. But he cannot even have a government because he's out of the country. And if he would have dared to name that government before, all those people would have been killed, as we now know. Are you with me? So it's not that there's lack of people, but this is all what we're dealing with. And then the people who've been jailed and killed in jail, we know that. We still have activists in jail today as we speak, there should not be a political prisoner in a jail in Cameroon, for crying out loud. We know that. So they're still there. So my question to you is, how is it going to move forward when they're there and they're being locked up and then we don't have enough attorneys to be able to fight this system to get them out, that requires money. The stakes are higher. More people are locked up. So that requires money. So that's the second thing. And then we have the third thing. We need to have grassroots. This is another thing that I really, these three things are mostly important. I know that this is also important for Shiroma to get in. We need grassroots support. There are many people on the ground that are in support all across the country. What is really important to take note is that the North, which had been silent for so long, I think they're as well as the Anglophone zones now, so we're galvanizing forces, and we could see that, during the election as Shiroma won. So the North, who they had over 80%, and all throughout before elections, Eric had made it clear to us why the North was important in this election. So the North, who was maybe had over 80% of support in Shiroma, now have way over 100, because Bello Buba, as we saw, went in for the greeting, and we knew, even though he was a candidate, he was still under the auspices of the government, and he was there to create a division. This is not hide and seek. This is open talk now. And so the people of the North have not only been enraged, but they have now fully supported. What am I saying? The support for Shiroma is way more, but we need ground. We the diasporans can support financially, then we need ground activity. Now, this ground activity cannot just have spurs of people who will be caught and put in jail, but we can have the grassroots. They're there. I tell you, they're there. So now we need to support them. We need to support this movement to come up, and there are people, and of course, for the purpose of what we're doing, we cannot name everything. You understand that? So these people on the ground who would be able to help in the change also, we need money. So I want us to understand this is not us gathering in our tribes to, have water, or maybe our alumni to, add another classroom. Are you with? We know how to do these projects. That's not what it is. This is about a nation. And before we have the right president, we need to be able to have enough ground activities, which is, tell you what, the kerosene is there. All we need is to strike the match and put it in there. And this striking of the match is the money that we need. So I'm just saying this in a real ordinary way because I want us to understand how important this is right now. And so if we're wondering, Eric, I'm going to let you talk about it a little bit, and then we're going to have Kenny, because I want you to talk. This is so important. It's something that I really want to apologize that as Project C, and chat me up, please, is we have not really talked about this as a center. We've talked about everything. We have an understanding. We have grown, more people listening, but we've not talked about where do we get money? How do we get money? Why is money essential? Because without money, we can stay here talking about this, and it's never going to happen. So Eric, please.
Yeah, well, I've never been one to talk about money because I'm very bad at it, but I totally get the point, agree, of course. We've been working on this and we've seen the limits of what we can do because we don't have the resources to. I had a long discussion with two sets of people last night, yesterday, a group in Nyambal prison where a young child died. One of the young kids who was not a kid, a teenager, who was arrested. He was selling something on the roadside in Douala. He was arrested amongst those who were arrested after the election and put in jail in Nyambal. He's from the north. He's from Yagua, and he died yesterday. So his family is being, the family has been contacted, of course, and they're trying to get the body up in Yagua and so on. And I regretted the fact that we can't provide any support at this time as a group, but individually, there must be some efforts done. But we need, at times like these, we need those resources. I was talking to some folks in Kondengi also yesterday, and the needs, there are 100, and I have the list, 142 names were sent to me of people who need food, just basic things to eat. And for those who might know, Mr. Felix Ngalem is there in the jailhouse. He's struggling to get rice, cook rice, salt and water, and maybe some spices to make sauce for these people to eat. Hundreds of them in Kondendi. And the government has no way of providing or feeding them. And families don't even know that they're out there. So this, this whole thing, I'm just trying to, and the tragedy of it is that most of the people arrested are from the north. Most of the people arrested are Muslims from the north of Cameroon. Now, after the elections of 2012, of 2024, or 25, sorry, October 12, and Issa Ichiroma emerging as the winner, the focus of this government turned to the north. In 2018, it turned to the west, because again, the name that emerged was Kamto. So if tomorrow somebody comes from the east and it emerges as a winner, the attention of this government to destroy the people from the east will be obvious. So, look, this is, somehow we have to figure out how we retake the country. And we're doing everything we can, contributing, appealing for funds so that we can highlight some of these things. I was asking yesterday, was the media present? Yes. Can the media go to the north? There was no money for, the organization I was talking to. They didn't have the resources to send journalists to the north to accompany the body of this young man who died. So there are reasons for which we're appealing for whatever support you can provide, whatever support we can provide. As Elizabeth said, whether it's $5 or $50 or $1,000, we need it. If we're going to help our country, if we're going to help our fellow citizens at this time, and if we belong to the third largest in terms of earnings, diaspora in Africa, we can act differently. We can do something differently. I know sometimes, you think about your bills, your electricity bills in the United States, your housing mortgage payments, your car loans to be paid, and all of that. It becomes overwhelming. But I'm definitely certain that you can take out $10. When I get these appeals from Cameroon, I don't have money, but I can afford to release $100 a month even. I can, and I do that, and I'm not saying this with any sense of pride. I'm just saying it is doable. If a retired unemployed man like me can do that, then I'm sure you can. There are all of these, Elizabeth, there are all these comments coming in. There's Maria Ndele, for example. I'd love to hear her on the views she's expressed on the chat. I know Professor John Fobanjong is with us. Has great ideas.
Is there any way that we can get them? Some of the guests that we had are not able to come in, so I'd love to invite them to the panel. If you're in a position where you can get invited to the panel, would love to do that. Just indicate that on the chat so we can bring you in, because I was looking at this. This is the conversation that we need to have.
Yes.
Well, we're done reading surveys and reports. I'm so sorry. I'm not minimizing anything. Yeah. I'm just saying that the facts have been established. We understand what they are. Mm-hmm. We need to find out what are the action that your most average person in Cameroon needs to be aware of. We're talking about education, for example. Dr. Dita, what he's saying here, he talks about the fact that Cameroon would not change because the system listens. It will change only when the pressure becomes unbearable internally and externally. We're getting to it for sure, Doc. We're getting to it. And it says the only three forces capable of breaking entrenched power. And the one was the population angry enough to rise and say enough is enough. Dr. Dita, I don't know if you're in a position where we can invite you to come up to the channel, to the panelists, please, if you can indicate that, I would be grateful, because he's made 3 powerful statements that this is what we need to talk about.
How does he indicate that he wants to come on?
It's just
I don't
saying
know
yes, he can.
how the system works.
Yes, because I want him to say yes, he can, so then we can bring him back.
Yeah. So if Professor Fobanjong can, or Maria Ndale, or
just say that
Dr. Dita, any of them who can indicate that they can.
Right, and then we could go ahead and invite you as a panelist.
Okay.
Because I don't want to put you in a position if you're not ready.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know. But in the meantime, if you just hit yes, you can. We can, because we need to engage in this conversation. Romuald, and I really am so sorry. Romuald says money is important, very important, but we should rebuild confidence. Yep, this is what I'm asking. This is, of course, as you all know, I'm just the wind. I'm here because I'm hoping that we can stimulate and we all can get involved. That's what I want. And so this is really important, but we should rebuild confidence, strength, support, and start helping people who need the basic things to live: food, education. This is a crisis. And if we, out of the diaspora, if we look at any nation, China was able to transform itself in less than 2 decades, transformation in civilization. And that is because the patriotism in the people out of the country was important. And they invaded any government with any information, sold themselves so that people can come and make things in their country. They got the knowledge and they were able to change. So how do we answer as a people from Cameroon, over 4 million, and we're waiting for somebody to save us, or we're waiting for Shiroma, who has already been attempted 10 times to kill him, and with the 3 or 4 who are left, maybe the people he's working with right now and all that he has to do, and we're waiting. What is Shiroma doing? What is Shiroma doing? What are we going to do? Are you with me? We need to figure out what's us here who come here every week. How do we galvanize ourselves as we leave today? What do we do? Do you agree with me that this is a conversation? I have no answers, most definitely. Humbly so, I don't. What I want to know is, for us who are here, we have the doctors, we have the specialists. Please come in. Let's engage in this conversation of what we can do. Leopold, I don't know if you had something to say about that.
And Eugène too is there. I don't know.
Eugène had a great point that she's made, but we have no one saying they can jump in here. And if they're not able to be on camera, that's fine. But so Leopold, you can go ahead. And
oui, en fait, c'est plus profond que ça. Évidemment, tout le monde ne peut pas être engagé dans la même voie. Mais nous avons clairement un problème d'identité. Et ça passe d'abord par une autoconnaissance. C'est-à-dire que quand on fait ce travail d'introspection, on retrouve son identité et on se rend compte de la similitude des gens. C'est-à-dire qu'en fait, on réalise que les divisions artificielles qu'on nous a inculquées, et ça ne date pas d'aujourd'hui, qu'on nous a inculquées étaient vraiment factices. C'est-à-dire que l'Africain, quand il retrouve son identité, et on le voit dans des pays, et je prends le cas du Rwanda ou le cas du Ghana, des pays qui ont fait ce travail, cet effort-là, ça facilite vraiment un socle d'unification, d'unité. Les gens se rapprochent davantage et ils se retrouvent, ils ont un sens commun vraiment de l'intérêt pour la chose commune. Donc, c'est un travail, et tout à l'heure, quelqu'un l'a dit dans le chat, c'est un travail d'éducation. Et en même temps, un travail d'humilité. Et comme on le dit en anglais, "Tone should be at the top." C'est-à-dire qu'il y a quelque chose qui devrait permettre aux gens de se retrouver ensemble, un socle. Et une fois de plus, je suis désolé, l'impunité. Le Rwanda, Kagame, il a toujours dit zero tolerance en termes de corruption et autres. Et ça facilite vraiment le respect de la chose publique, le respect de chacun, mais c'est avant tout un travail déjà de self-knowledge. Il faut que les gens fassent cet effort d'introspection-là. C'est long, et c'est long, mais on peut y arriver parce que nous avons des exemples qui ont pu le faire. En Afrique, pas forcément ailleurs.
You know, somebody was saying in another meeting that are we avoiding what we really need to do? So we're having all these wonderful discussions, but are we avoiding our responsibility to take action? I don't know what you have to say about that, Eric.
You know, I was just wondering where Kenny and Eugène are. Maybe they should also step in. I see them on the screen. But you know, it's all, Elizabeth. It's all about leadership. If we do not get any evidence from the top that our leadership has that consciousness of equity in the management of the Commonwealth, if people do not think that the top is working for them, there's the tendency to want to do what the top is doing. And that's the problem, the general problem we have in the country, you know, in Cameroon now. I can say this with absolute certainty that our leaders are not held to account. And the reason they're not held to account is because the President of the Republic does not have it in mind to hold his ministers to account. If he did, the palaces that ministers, civil servants in Cameroon, the palaces that built in villages that have no roads that go to them, he would have said, where did all of that money come from? How do you, a minister who makes $1.5 million a month, build a house of $1 billion francs? Where did the money come from? I remember when President Ahidjo arrested the Director General of the Banque Camerounaise de Développement, a banker, one of the top bankers of that day in Cameroon, arrested and threw him in jail because he made money more than his salary could justify. Accountability is the problem. People are not held to account. Mr. Biya has not had the time in maybe most of the last 40 years to hold people to account. And again, I challenge anybody to say anything to prove the contrary. And because people are not being held to account, they've gone away with murder. The country's been destroyed. We need accountability to be brought back into the system. And I don't know, I'd love to have Kenny and Herman. I don't know why Herman is not saying anything en français, parce qu'il faut équilibrer un peu le jeu, n'est-ce pas? Et Benjamin n'a pas pu être avec nous, je ne comprends pas, pour des raisons je ne sais pas si c'est des problèmes de lumière, d'absence de lumière, mais Benjamin était là,
oui,
mais il est disparu.
Oui, on peut voir clairement, parce que même ici, le courant n'est pas revenu. Le courant n'est pas revenu et on voyait visiblement que Benjamin devait avoir un souci d'électricité ou de connexion.
Okay.
J'ai juste la chance d'avoir encore l'énergie solaire.
Yes, we have several people who are going to be joining us. And I just want to say that I'm appealing to everyone, and I almost want you to forgive my passion. But I just want to say that Angeline is joining us, and I have sent passionate messages saying we need your valuable shares. We need you to tell us. It is true that we at Project C have made effort to bring guests we can talk to. And I think there are times, I'm happy that, the people who are caught up in funerals this week, there's a lot of movement going on, even locally to us as Project C, many of our people at a funeral, and also with some of our guests in Cameroon. But, it's not a matter of entertainment. It's not a matter of who we have. It's a matter of us in our own house. So today's the day. Let's all get, this is a conversation for Cameroonian and for, born Cameroonians, second generation, whatever. Let's engage ourselves. Ken, you've been here, and I know that you're passionate about fundraising, but you understand what's going on. And I'm going to get personal and say, you're one person who talks about, do you understand how much money I put in Bangui and I cannot even go there? So we're talking about grassroots, what we can do as diasporans outside as our country is almost in a place of collapse. It is. So what are your views, Kenny?
Okay, so thank you, Ali. Thank you, Eric. Can you guys hear me clearly? We're good?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. So anyhow, it's a beautiful Saturday, and here we are again, right? And I'm going to have us have a little bit of entertainment and some fun with this deal today, okay? So I'm gonna read a couple of things, and I want you to not necessarily react, but if you can react. What emotion these things or these names emit in you. So Chantal Bia is the first one I'm going to mention, right? Ngongo, Atanganji, whatever, Indira Baboke, Nyat, Kavaye, Mecca, Frank Bia. Guys, do any of these people sound like people that you would stand and expect to run your country? I'm telling you, none of these freaking people should be running our country. But guess what? The reality is they are. Eric just mentioned that we as Cameroonians are the third highest ranked diasporans in education, in financial control over top financial institutions in the world, in North America. Cameroonians. And where we come from, is Chantal Bia calling the shots? We know her upbringing. She comes from nothing, guys. I'm telling you, nothing. We know what her profession was before she got married to Paul Bia. Ngongo, what's his level of education? And we sit here and want to sit and talk about a country in distress? Guys, we need to own this stuff. We got to own this. I'm going to talk to you guys from a bold perspective today. Bold meaning that I'm going to ask you guys to act from a bold perspective. Look at yourself in the mirror. You and me included. We are actually the ones making this thing work smoothly for the Paul Bia regime. You know why? 4 million diasporans. We send money back home every day. Part of the Paul Bia regime depends on the money we send back home. So our people can be okay for medical bills, for daily living, for daily subsistence. They rely on the money from the diasporans. Guys, I think it's about time I make a bold statement. We got to cut this shit out. Stop sending the money back home. Stop. If we stop sending the money to Cameroon for 1 year, the Paul Bia regime that is going around borrowing money to even pay their own, the people who work in the government don't have enough money to send in the system to sustain the people who are out there on the streets. These people would immediately rise and take to the streets. We are complicit in this. I am calling on you. All the money you send to Cameroon, please only take $10 from that money a month and send to Project C. Project C is going to collaborate with other groups, and together we're going to cripple this economy. I just asked you guys, think about these names. Chantal Bia, who the heck is she? Ngongo comes from nowhere, and he has to tell us what happened to the port in Cameroon. Atanganji, an ex-convict, and we are the Cameroonians in the diaspora running most big companies. Nyat, who changes a diaper every 30 minutes, cannot even, it could be blown by the wind that just blows through. Cavaye, guys, we are a laughing stock. And if this means I need to call you up on this, to step up right now and put your money where your mouth is, that's what I'm doing, guys. I'm sorry. But you know what? I'm not sorry, actually, because I'm telling you guys to step up in a bold way and send some money. $10. Stop sending the money to Cameroon. Because let me tell you what, Cameroonians, my fellow brothers and sisters, listen to this. Our timber in the forest in Cameroon, timber that is hundreds of years old, they cut this timber in the plain daylight. You hear these engine saws, massive machinery, cutting down these timbers. They transport that in roads that you and I cannot even pass by. In front of our eyes, take them to the ports that they are fighting over, and they ship them to foreign countries. And there's no outrage? Come on, guys. We have political prisoners in jail since the Southern Cameroon crisis. Pre-election, post-election, no outrage, guys. And we want to sit down here and say we're proud Cameroonians. You know what? Yeah, I know we're proud Cameroonians. But guys, put your mouth where your money is. I'm not asking you for a ton of money. Is $10 a lot to ask for? There's 4 million Cameroonians in the diaspora, guys. 4 million. $10 a month. Guys, Project C, right? ProjectCameroon.com. Go on there right now. Don't get off this call. Call your brothers, call your sisters, call your friends in the diaspora. Ask them to go in there, sign on ProjectCameroon.com. Donate $10, committed to $10 a month. You know what that money is going to do for us? We can cripple the Cameroon economy. We can pay transporters to stop transporting any goods from the Cameroon port to anywhere to Chad, to Central African Republic, to anywhere else. Who pay for that? Who pay the Ben Skinners to drive their motorcycles all the way to A2D? Right? Who pay the Bayam Selams to all get on the road and drive to Yaoundé? Guys, we need an outrage in Cameroon. The reason why Cameroonians are not outraged is because, guys, we are the ones who are complicit in this endeavor. We send money for medical bills. We send money to take care of their daily lives. Guys, they're going to die anyhow. I'm sorry, because we don't have the infrastructure to even take care of them. So whatever money you send, I'm asking you guys, stop saying that money. Divert that money to Project C. Let's collaborate with other groups.
Kenny, I want to say that the soonest we do that, it's not based on a report that I think Alain and Mike did all the studies and showed us, and I think they shared part of that here. It's not even going to take 2 or 3 months for this to and then we can really build a future. Instead of giving fish for people, we can teach them how to fish really.
Yes, but it takes a sacrifice though, guys. The people back home have to sacrifice. And guys, I'm going to warn you guys. They're going to say, oh, in the past we've contributed money and there was no accountability. This is different times.
Right.
In Project C, there's clear transparency and accountability. We're going to show you where your money is going. We need investigative reporting. You heard Eric Chinde talk about where the journalist, right? Where's Ngongang's family in California? Let's show exactly the address where he lives, where his family is, so people can go in front of his house and demonstrate.
Living in Will Smith's neighborhood. Living in Will Smith's neighborhood, taking the money of the people that we're sending money to, so they can
need to show that.
Let's show where that money is doing that. So
let's show where every one of them are. Let's smoke them out of their holes. Let's make their lives a total misery and uncomfortable, guys. Guys, this is not time for us to feel like it's normal terms. These guys do this stuff in broad daylight in front of our eyes.
I think we've been brought up to be so well-mannered and, understanding what that means,
But those times are gone, Eli. Those times are gone.
That's what I'm saying.
We need to have a different approach here. All options are on the table. And without your contributions and your money, we cannot approach this from that perspective. We need your money.
Angeline is here, and Angeline said, we need a strategy to awaken people who've been pushed into a state of apathy for so long. I mean, this is what we're suffering from. And I think this is our biggest barrier in raising funds. So, Angeline, I know you said you're sorry you can't be on camera. I want you to express, and I want Herman to really take us to the next level, because Herman, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that I'd not put you in, but really take us to the next level, because I know that you have very strong views on this. And today is a day of being practical, of having a real conversation where every Cameroonian, irrespective of your background, can contribute and know that they are a part of these conversations. We're all here as panelists. Whether you're present or not, we want to hear what you have to say. So Herman, you're going to take it from there. But Angeline, go ahead. Thank you.
Lee, thank you for using that analogy of your house. Cameroon is our home. It's our house. If I don't clean up my house, there are consequences, right? There are consequences. Somebody might come in and say, hey, you're hoarding, and bring behavioral health folks to my home and even lock me up. What I'm trying to say is, Cameroon is not cleaning up its house. That's why they are borrowing to the top. and not doing what they're supposed to do. But we are here as Cameroonians. We're here. I don't know if I'm ever going to go back, but we are here. I have relatives. I have family. I have everybody, friends in Cameroon. And people are struggling and suffering. And there's a structure in place to keep people down, to hold people down in Cameroon. We all know that, right? The elite, the people who are keeping the money in their pockets and in their bank accounts, have a structure in place to hold people down. We need to break that. We need to break that ceiling. I don't know what it's called. I don't know what's happening, but Project C needs to work on breaking that. We don't just need money. Money is a tool to get this going. We need your mindset. We need you to believe in this. We need the values of Project C to penetrate into us, our communities, our people. I've heard, and I'm reaching out to people a lot, and all I hear is apathy. Oh, nothing is going to change. There are people that I'm reaching out to that were from the very beginning, was very strong for the Ambazonia movement. And everybody's like, nothing is going to change. Nothing's going. In my voice to them, I'm saying, you need to stand up and do something, because you are a person. When you say nothing is going to change, and that penetrates the entire village, that's what we believe. But you as a person, stand up for something. There's that adage, if you do not stand for something, you fall for anything. Stand up for something. So as I'm saying this, I am still out there knocking on doors, asking people to support Project C. Some of them are supporting. Some of them says this might work. Some of them are saying, nothing has ever worked in Cameroon. I'm going to go about my business and just do what I'm doing. But we have to change that mindset. We have to change that mentality. Project C has stood up as a leader in bringing change to Cameroon. Let's rally behind Project C. And let's put our money where our mouth is. Your $1 is going to go a long way. We want you to give more, but giving $1, $10, like Kenny said. Kenny, thank you for that passionate speech. Like Kenny said, I mean, how often do we lose $20 in a week? How often? How often do we spend money on things that we don't need? But this is something that we need. We need this for our families, for our children coming up. So please stand behind Project C and support it. Thank you.
Great, great. Herman, I'm just going to have you take over right away. Thank you. That was passionate. So yeah. Oh, you're muted. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, you're muted.
Ok, merci. Merci Elisabeth, merci Angéline. Oui, nous avons écouté ce que les panélistes ont dit jusqu'ici. On sait que beaucoup de personnes de la diaspora écoutent et on voit la situation catastrophique que le Cameroun traverse. On en a parlé depuis des mois, avant l'élection du 12 octobre, et les choses se sont passées exactement comme le peuple camerounais le souhaitait. Une expression forte d'un désir très fort de changer. Je voulais même dire un désir violent. Parce qu'ils ont été capables de sortir. Pour la première fois, ils ont défendu, le peuple camerounais a défendu son vote, malgré toutes les injonctions du ministre de l'administration territoriale. S'il écoute ce voice, je voulais lui dire un coucou. Je voulais lui dire salut, ministre de l'administration. Parce que malgré toutes les intimidations, il n'a pas pu arrêter le peuple. Donc ça veut dire qu'il y a un momentum, il y a une envie qui s'est levée. Et puis, elle s'est aggravée par le massacre de 50 Camerounais, si ce n'est 60, si ce n'est 70. Donc, ils ont répondu à l'expression du peuple par l'opposé parfait qu'on aurait pu espérer. Donc, un peuple qui dit qu'il veut que les choses changent. Et la meilleure façon, la meilleure réponse qu'ils ont trouvée à lui opposer était de le tuer. Et comme si ça ne suffisait pas, ils en ont encore tué avec Anissé Kane. Donc, ça veut dire que ce peuple-là ne peut pas oublier, quel que soit ce qu'on fasse, quel que soit ce qu'on dise, Ils peuvent même fabriquer un gouvernement aussi fabriqué possible en termes d'union nationale. Le peuple ne va jamais oublier le 12 octobre, le 27 octobre, le 28 octobre, quand ils ont tué 58 Camerounais. Maintenant, on se rend compte qu'ils n'arrivent pas à gérer ce qu'ils ont volé. Ils n'arrivent pas à sortir un gouvernement. Ils n'arrivent pas à répondre au peuple camerounais. Peut-être le 10 février, Paul Biya, ou Dieu seul sait ce qu'il en reste, va arriver, il va faire un discours et ils vont essayer de surfer dessus. Mais c'est certain que le peuple camerounais est arrivé à un niveau d'où il ne peut plus descendre. Et la diaspora est intervenue à ce niveau-là. C'est la diaspora qui perfuse économiquement le Cameroun en grande partie. 400 millions de dollars envoyés chaque année. 400 millions de dollars. Ça veut dire que la diaspora tient un très puissant levier d'action sur ce qui se passe au Cameroun. Donc, si actuellement vous êtes de la diaspora, si vous intervenez dans le sens de soutenir, ça veut dire que vous tenez un levier. Vous tenez fortement un levier. Et que vous le vouliez ou non, vous êtes une partie, une réponse à ce peuple-là qui s'est mobilisé. Le peuple semble calme, mais c'est sûr qu'il y a une colère sourde qui est en train de couver. Donc, ce qu'on peut faire en tant que diaspora, au niveau de Project-C, le Project-C a décidé de, éveiller le peuple camerounais, continuer d'éveiller, parce qu'on sait que le peuple camerounais qui a voté le 12 octobre l'a voté de cette façon parce qu'il est éveillé. Il faut que ceux du peuple camerounais qui ne croient pas, qui sont pessimistes, qui se sont laissés endormir par un discours pessimiste, comprennent que si ça s'est passé comme ça le 12 octobre, c'est parce qu'ils sont capables, qu'ils le croient ou non, ils sont capables de prendre les choses en main. Même s'ils ne sont pas obligés de sortir dans les rues, ils sont capables de garder cette force-là, ce mental très fort. À ce moment, la diaspora est capable de se mettre ensemble. Project 6 s'est placé de façon non partisane. Quel que soit le parti politique, que vous alliez aux élections législatives ou non, parce que ça, c'est un débat qui a eu cours. Est-ce qu'on va aux élections législatives? On ne va pas, là n'est pas la question. Parce qu'on va aux élections législatives, on sait ce qui va se passer. C'est le même code électoral, c'est le même Atanganji, ce sont les mêmes. Ils vont encore faire ce qu'ils ont fait. On peut aussi décider quand même d'y aller. Ça ne change rien à ce que Project C propose. Comprenons-nous bien, s'il vous plaît. Parce que parfois, on ne se comprend pas. On entend certains dire le MRC y va, le FSNC n'y va pas. Maître Alice comme a dit ceci. Ça ne change rien. Le momentum est toujours intact. Et après l'élection législative, on va se rendre compte qu'on se retrouve ensemble avec le même objectif qui est celui de changer le Cameroun. Est-ce qu'on veut que le Cameroun change? Que ce soit ceux qui croient aux élections législatives ou ceux qui n'y croient pas. L'objectif, c'est que le 12 octobre ne soit pas oublié. L'objectif, c'est que ce qui s'est passé le 12 octobre, le sacrifice des Camerounais ne passe pas inaperçu. Donc, qu'est-ce que vous pouvez faire? On a posté les liens. 1. Vous pouvez rejoindre les groupes WhatsApp de Project C. 2. Les contributions par message qui se font sont très utiles. Parce qu'avec ces contributions, on peut savoir exactement qu'est-ce que le peuple de la diaspora envisage. Et la diaspora est très puissante. J'ai souvent donné l'exemple du Canada. Le Québec seul a reçu 24 000 immigrants. Sur les 24 000, 12 000 étaient camerounais. Et vous savez ce que le gouvernement a fait? Le gouvernement a dû sortir une nouvelle loi pour plafonner à 25% le maximum qu'un pays puisse envoyer au Québec chaque année. Parce que les Camerounais seuls avaient 50%. 12 000. Ça, c'est sans compter les autres provinces. Donc, il est important, rien ne pourra se faire sans l'unité des Camerounais. Et c'est une chose que la colonisation a toujours redoutée. Et que le gouvernement a simplement transposé dans sa nouvelle façon de faire, le nouveau régime, divisé. Eric parlait tout à l'heure de 1992, où on a créé le concept d'englobamie. En 2018, ils ont créé le concept de tontinat. Et en 2018, en 2025, c'était difficile. C'est pourquoi 2025, l'opposition a connu le plus haut score qu'elle n'avait jamais connu. Ni en 2018, ni en 1992, éventuellement, on avait connu un tel score. Parce que c'était difficile de contenir le candidat de l'opposition à une région comme il l'avait fait avant. Ça, c'est parce que pour la première fois, les Camerounais se sont mis ensemble de façon comme jamais ça n'avait été vu. Donc, si la diaspora nous écoute, il y a beaucoup de personnes qui veulent le changement, mais qui n'arrivent pas encore à poser le geste de volonté qui accompagne ce qu'ils souhaitent. C'est pourquoi il est important que la diaspora fasse un peu confiance à ce que certains sont en train de mettre sur pied. Quand je dis certains, il s'agit de projects. Faites un peu confiance. Il est question de rejoindre le forum, il est question de partager, il est question de contribuer. On a parlé de 10 $, de 20 $. Considérez un peu le nombre de 20 $ que vous pouvez perdre chaque jour, chaque semaine, dans des détails qu'on ne peut même pas imaginer. Beaucoup perdent des 50 $ dans une pizza, un hamburger, quelque chose de totalement, je ne veux pas dire non significatif, mais pas aussi significatif que la liberté du Cameroun, pour laquelle nous crions chaque jour. On est conscient que certains des nôtres au Cameroun ont besoin de notre soutien. Ça, ce serait peut-être difficile à un certain moment si ta maman dépend de toi. Mais il y a beaucoup d'opportunités où tu sais que la libération et la liberté du peuple camerounais ne valent pas un hamburger, ne valent pas une pizza. Et Dieu sait combien de pizzas nous mangeons chaque semaine. Donc, si au lieu de manger une pizza à 20 $, on peut juste dire, ceci va aller à la libération du Cameroun. Ceci va aller pour les prisonniers politiques. Anissé Kane n'est pas encore enterré. Est-ce qu'on l'a déjà oublié facilement comme ça, quelqu'un qui a donné sa vie pour le Cameroun? Est-ce que nous sommes vraiment sérieux? Est-ce qu'on l'aimait jusqu'à ce niveau-là? Est-ce qu'on voulait seulement, est-ce qu'on l'applaudissait parce qu'il était devant et nous, on était derrière en train de l'applaudir? Donc, ça suffit comme ça, tout l'amour que nous avons pu manifester pour Anissé Kane suffisait comme ça? S'arrêter et dire, OK, il a donné ce qu'il a donné, c'est fini? Non. À un moment, il faut qu'on interroge un peu notre sérieux. Est-ce que notre amour pour Dieu comme Tchameni, ça suffit comme ça? Il est en prison maintenant, ça va. Pendant qu'il était dehors en train de travailler, on l'applaudissait. Pendant qu'il était à côté d'Anissé, de Issa Chiroma, il parcourait le Cameroun à leur âge. Hein? Nous, on est relativement jeunes, on a 40 ans. Mais j'imagine quelqu'un comme le président Chiroma qui a sillonné Anissé Kane, Djukam Tchameni, qui ont sillonné le Cameroun parce qu'ils voulaient le libérer, parce qu'ils voulaient que la volonté du peuple soit écoutée. Et on les a portés, on les a soutenus. Maintenant qu'il est question de prendre un petit pas, on oublie complètement tout ce qu'on a pensé d'eux. Je pense que notre sincérité est beaucoup, beaucoup, beaucoup au-delà de ce que nous manifestons là. C'est un peu difficile de tenir ce langage longtemps parce que ça fait mal. Mais la diaspora ne peut pas dire que tout ce qu'elle a eu comme intérêt, comme amour pour Anissé Kane se limitait juste à l'encourager et son corps est encore à la morgue. Hein. Oui. Il aurait souhaité être enterré le jour de l'assassinat de son mentor. Mais le gouvernement n'a pas voulu. Le régime n'a pas libéré son corps. Alors, c'est à nous de montrer à sa femme, à ses enfants, à tout le monde, mais qu'on peut faire comme au Burkina Faso. Vous savez que hier, on commémorait encore Thomas Sankara au Burkina Faso. J'ai regardé des images. Parce que là-bas, ils comprennent que les héros nationaux, c'est ça qui fait le ferment. C'est ça qui fait la semence d'une véritable génération qui arrive. Donc, s'il vous plaît, ce qui est sûr, personne ne peut forcer aucun Camerounais à donner. Mais on voulait juste attirer votre conscience sur le fait que oui. Une pizza, un hamburger, un 50 $, un 100 $, pourquoi pas 200, pour soutenir ces personnes qui chaque samedi. Et ça, c'est ce que vous voyez. Parce qu'avant samedi, il y a des rencontres de préparation. Parce qu'il y a des discussions. Il y a des appels qui doivent être faits pour avoir des personnes sur le panel. Permettez que je puisse dévoiler un peu de notre travail en background, en back-office. Il y a énormément de réunions. Et personne n'est payé pour ça, en passant. Personne n'est rémunéré pour ça. Donc, s'il vous plaît, si le minimum qu'on demande, c'est que, au-delà d'assister, vous puissiez nous contacter pour dire, voici une idée que je pense. Voici une suggestion que j'ai. Voici une ressource que je peux apporter. Je voulais un peu insister. S'il vous plaît, dépassons le clivage des partis politiques. Dépassons totalement le clivage. Parce que les partis politiques, ce sont des organisations qui travaillent d'abord pour elles-mêmes, pour promouvoir un champion. On ne fonctionne pas comme ça. On a essayé de voir que promouvoir les champions n'est pas ce qui fonctionne au Cameroun. Il y avait Eugène, il y a eu Maurice Kamto. On s'est rendu compte que ce régime est capable de diviser par le tribalisme notamment. Essayons d'oublier. Quand aujourd'hui j'entends quelqu'un parler en mal de Issa Chiroma par rapport à Maurice Kamto, je lui dis, tu n'as rien compris. Tu n'as rien compris. Tu n'as même pas commencé. Le jour où tu vas comprendre qu'on travaille pour le Cameroun, tu n'auras plus le temps de médire contre un leader politique.
Right. Wow.
Ça, c'est très important pour que les Camerounais puissent s'aimer. On ne connaissait pas ces histoires de tribalisme avant. Et il est important de retourner à ça. Et ça va commencer, ça a commencé même.
Yes.
J'ai été content de voir les Aristide Mono travailler avec Issa Chiroma. Peu importe ce que les gens pouvaient dire. J'étais content de voir ça. Et c'est quelque chose qu'on nous a légué. J'ai été content de voir Anissé Kane se mettre avec Maurice Kamto. On a été content de voir ça. Donc, s'il vous plaît, si ça peut se transcrire un peu, se traduire un peu en un engagement pratique, un engagement pécuniaire, un engagement financier, un engagement en termes de conseil, de contribution. Et vous connaissez des gens très intellectuels qui peuvent aussi aider. Tous les Camerounais, toutes les ressources sont bienvenues, très bienvenues.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Elisabeth. Je vais m'arrêter là.
And don't go anywhere, by the way.
Okay.
I know that we have more, and Eric, I'm going to let you take the last talk because there's a lot here. But we had a comment from Fese, Akko Fese, who says Cameroonians spelled with a K. Cameroonians need to build a national narrative that is beyond symbols like national football team. And it says, I think we can start by asking what we as a people are proud of. To be proud of ourselves, we need to know who we are, where we come from, and where we want to go. And I ask, have we asked? Those are the closing questions I'm still this is a reflective state. Okay. Now, I was looking up the meaning of Stockholm Syndrome, and I just want all of us to see if, we can relate to this. Kenny, you started by asking those questions. When someone is trapped this is the plain meaning. When someone is trapped in a harmful situation, their mind may cope by bonding with the personal cause of the harm, sometimes even defending them. And I think, Herman, I was listening to you when I thought about this. And why can that happen? It says the victim depends on the abuser for survival and safety. Okay? Small acts of kindness feel magnified under fear. Okay? The brain tries to reduce terror by finding connection, tribal contributions. Isolation from outside perspective reinforces the bond. Let's just decide where we are and what we're going to do. There's a lot here. And I am just, moved because I almost, and I'm very respectful of all the guests we've had throughout, but we're almost getting entertained. And we're just creative avoidance, but we're not going within ourselves to be reflective. Like Ken said, we can solve this within a month or two if we try to. So I want to ask a reflective question. What are we willing to do? Who, like Angelina, are the 5 people that you're willing to feel uncomfortable with and Somebody says, Elise, self-perspective becomes the goal. Yes, Angeline, for sure, exactly. What is it that we, as we live today, it's no longer, oh, that was a good discussion and we met this person and that. But we start saying, who are the 5 people that I'm willing to get uncomfortable with so they can give $10? Because the challenge, as you will find out towards the end of this, I want you to hang tight because everybody has an assignment. What you will find is that we will come back every week and just go straight into the bank and show you this is how we raised it. Let's see our reflection in the mirror. Let's see what we're talking about. We are going to show you $20 came. It doesn't matter what it is. You want your name on it. You don't want your name on it. Of course, we're going to respect that. But I want to dare you that if we have 1,000 people, because everyone here and watching beyond, we have 43. And I know that's a minimum number because we go in the 10,000s during the week, or who is watching this live. If we go on and we all say 10, but not you giving your 10 or 20 and then sitting. The challenge is your 10 has no meaning without you creating a network. Call a sister, call a brother and say, no matter what they say, you say to them, can I just ask you to give $10? And you're giving $10, not to your family or child in the village that you sponsor, but to the other one down in the wonderland that you don't know because they're all ours. I'm not going to argue with you. I need you to give $10. Are you with me? So, Kenny, you have a few minutes. Take it from here because this is where we're heading and we're beginning to look our face in the mirror, how we have created a situation that can be changed in a short few months so we can have the right president who we elected to be on there. We're going to set a goal for the amount. People were doing this today. We're going to set the goal. Every single week, we're going to talk about where we are. We're going to put that. So let's do something that we're proud of, Fese. Like Fese, a quote Fese said, that we're proud of, that we feel like we're contributing towards. That's what we need to start with. Enough is enough. Go ahead.
Thank you, Eli. So this $10 we're talking about, guys, is the bare minimum, right? We do a lot of talking. We talk. We come here every Saturday, we talk. We talk throughout the week. But as you guys know, people want action now. We want action now. All talk without action doesn't do anything, right? And we are in numbers. Your $10 alone does nothing. My $10 alone does nothing. But collectively, our $10 can move mountains. And that's what we need, guys, is everybody coming together and say, hey, you know what? Let's simplify it. If you just commit to $10 a month, just go in there on that website, go to donate, and it's very simple. I'm going to walk you through. You choose donate and you sign up for $10 and it comes automatically out every month. You might ask, why are we spending so much time today talking about fundraising? Guys, we need to build a legal defense team in Cameroon who can free all these innocent people who are in jail, who can publish the list, guys. The list, honestly, guys, you see that list, you're going to cry. How many Cameroonians are in jail since the Southern Cameroonian crisis? Guys, we need people to step up. We have people in jail who cannot even afford for food. They don't have clothes to wear. We need to assemble a medical team that can go there weekly and take care of our brothers and sisters in jail. What would it take? We live in comfortable homes in the diaspora, right? Some of you guys work for companies that you can go in there and just have pre-tax deductions to Project C. It's 501c. So it qualifies for your donations monthly. Negligible amount of money, guys. You heard Herman talk about the cost of a hamburger, the cost of a pizza. We're talking about bare minimum. Individuals, bare minimum doesn't do anything. But collectively, guys, that money can do massive things. And it's time for action, guys. Let's get together. Let's unite. Let's put our mouth where the money is. Let's act. Let's bring down these people who are bringing down our country, who have hijacked our country, who have taken our future, who have robbed our kids of their future, our heritage, what belongs to us. Let's fight. And this is a fight that we must win. We have a president that we chose, whether you like him or dislike him. The majority of Cameroonians chose him. And he is not in the place where he needs to be. I'm just going to end with one thing. You know what they say, when you don't have a plan, means you plan to fail? Mm-hmm. The Biya regime had no plans to leave Italy. They have no plans. You ask them, they have thought that in their life they belong there. So if you're thinking that, we voted for Chiruma, so they have to leave. They don't know how to leave. We got to force them out of there. We need the masses to force them out of there. They have no choice. So we can prosecute them. We can bring them to justice. We can arrest them. And you know what, guys? These guys deserve the firing squad because of what they've done to all of us. I'm sorry, but maybe I'm not even sorry. But please, your $10 will go a long way.
Right.
Please don't get off today without going in there and committing that $10. That's all we're asking for. Is $10 is too much? What is too much, guys, to regain your country? Is $10 too much, honestly? Is that too much?
Yes.
ProjectCameroon.com, right? Go to
Yes.
Zelle 6366751766. Okay? Cash App, I am Cameroon. Please, guys, don't get off this call today. Call your brothers, call your sisters, call family members, share this information. There's 43 of us on here on this call. Guys, we're streaming on all the other platforms. So there's thousands of people listening to this stuff. There's 4 million diasporas. $10 a month would go a long way to make a change. That's how we win this fight. And you know what? My one promise to you guys is we shall win it. Trust me, we shall win. I end here.
Kenny, thank you. Thank you. And Leopold, you've been nodding a lot. We're getting ready to close here. And I want to just, before I go, I need, upon reflection, unfortunately, Dr. Dita couldn't join us. I'm sure that he's attending to one of his patients. But he took time to write this up, where I think it's most important that I read this to you, because it's very reflective, okay? And he says, Cameroon will not change because the system, I started earlier, listens. It will change only when pressure comes to unbearable internally and externally. There are only three forces capable of breaking entrenched power. It says a population angry enough to rise and say enough is enough, not emotional anger, but conscious anger, which people stop normalizing suffering and withdraw consent. When obedience becomes more dangerous than resistance. Okay, that's point number one. And he put it in this order as I'm reading it to you. Number two, a military that begins to doubt obedience. No authoritarian system survives without military loyalty. Militaries do not defect out of morality. They defect when a loyalty becomes costly and the future under the regime looks worse than the risk of change. Number three, interstate pressure that removes the system's protections, okay? So population anger alone can be crushed. Military hesitation only can be managed. What shifts the balance is international pressure, sanctions, isolations, legal exposure that makes repression expensive and loyalty irrational. And he says, my take. So I really want to thank Dr. Dita for this perspective, because it is the conversation that we need to stay on. And I simply want to, going back about giving money and action, today is a day that I hope we will remember that we're taking another turn. And the turn is, there's a mirror in front of us. And we can't see beyond the mirror, because the mirror only allows us to see ourselves. And so I was just calculating. And I want you to tell me yes or no on the chat. Please tell me yes or no on the chat. Please tell me yes or no on the chat. If we set a goal between here and next Saturday to test ourselves, because I thought, oh my gosh, am I insulting the Cameroonian people to say, let's raise $10,000, right? And then I thought, well, let's start somewhere, right? So if we set a goal to raise $10,000 by the end of next week, right? I broke it down to $40, okay? That gives 500 people contributing. So everyone who is listening today, which we know will be thousands, what if we all just give 10? And I know the people who will give 50, 40, but I averaged it out at $40. Are you with me? So if we're able to do right now, like If you live here and you think Project C and you really feel like Project C needs to continue staying, and you just know it's beyond talking, and you feel that Project C has done something, and there are many other great organizations, I bet you there are, you may know of some of them. As a matter of fact, you may be living here to attend another. But if Project C has done anything that you believe in and you continue to come here for a reason, I want to challenge you as I speak now to go to www.projectc.com. Please refer to the links. As you get the link, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about other people. Send it to 51015 and say, I ask you not. I'm not here to debate with you, but I come because we're loyal and because we're of that soil. And that soil has brought us to the diaspora. Indeed, it has. And so maybe our role, if we all were in Cameroon, where we will be, but maybe our role was to be out so that we can get in and so that we can save other people. I don't know, but I am saying, what will happen if we just start by putting in your 10, putting in your 20 right now, if we do that? And then as the week goes on, we're going to show you what is going on. And listen, if we come here last week, it's only been $1,000. There goes the mirror. And let's keep doing this. And I want to tell you that it's an effort I'm going to put in. This is the one thing I'm going to drive, is that we are going to keep building up until it catches on fire, until you know the video with the one guy who goes out dancing, they're bold enough to go out dancing, and and then before you know, people start joining, and then a movement is created. We're creating a movement and contributing money that is not going to take anything away from us. And I know that many of you who would say, Elizabeth, 10, I'll give 20. And many of you who would say, I'll give 100 a week. I will dedicate 500 a month. Some of you may say 100 a month. But I want, whatever you do, I want you to do that and go create your clan of people giving $500 a month, your clan of people giving $400 a month. And make it not a debate, please. Make it an obligation as children of the soil, a soil of diamond, uranium, some of the, we're rich and we're made from that soil. We are the soil. I was reflecting this morning on how intelligent, how genius we are as Cameroonians. Let's appreciate ourselves. I'm going to go back to what Fessa said. Let's appreciate ourselves and let's be proud of who we are as Cameroonians, not from the isolated places that we've been, reduced to. So that's the challenge I have, and I want us to start reflecting of that as we get to shutting this down. Now, Leopold, we're going to get your reflections. Then I'm going to play a little video that will take us into what might happen next week. And then we're going to have Eric give us his views before we close. And no, before we go to Eric, we're going to go to Herman, and then we're going to go to Eric. So thank you so much, Leopold. Thank you.
Thank you, Eliza. Thank you. And I would like to add more than on what Herman just rightly said. Herman a tout dit. Vraiment, c'est pas la peine d'en dire plus. Très, très bien. Merci.
Donc, Herman, alors.
Oh, qu'est-ce que je vais encore dire si ce n'est encourager tous ceux qui nous écoutent à mettre un peu d'action sur l'amour qu'ils ont pour nos nationalistes. Vraiment, j'ai un cœur pour Anissé Kane. Excusez que je revienne dessus. Il a tout donné. S'il vous plaît, donnons un peu un retour pour lui. S'il vous plaît. Pensons à ceux qui sont en prison. Lorsqu'ils ont été arrêtés, Project C a envoyé, je ne sais plus combien, tout ce qu'on avait collecté. On l'avait utilisé pour les prisonniers de Goma, les prisonniers de Bafoussam, les prisonniers de Yaoundé, de Douala. Maître Fabien Kenyé était venu ici et ça avait été très utile. Vos contributions avaient beaucoup aidé les prisonniers. Maître Fabien Kenyé n'avait même plus d'argent pour le carburant pour se déplacer de Fumban, je me souviens. Mais nous avons aidé. Et il est allé jusqu'au nord. Et ça a été très transparent. S'il vous plaît, nous sommes libres. Mais beaucoup de mamans pleurent encore. Beaucoup de papas sont privés de leurs enfants. Au-delà d'aimer nos gens, montrons qu'on est, au-delà de dire, montrons qu'on a un amour en étant un peu pratique. et on va recontacter les avocats et on va aider encore un peu. Ils sont 2000 encore en prison. Merci.
Thank you. That is so emotional because, you know, Herman, I just want to say one of the things that we know is you just bring it to bear. The things you said today that was so important. And I want to say one of the greatest takeaway is, and I would say I am guilty, and I would take that, you know, first stand is it's not about pinning people against, well, Kamto is better than this or this is better than Kamto, but is have a language of unity. This, you know, please go get the definition of Stockholm syndrome. So, you know, like first, let's understand who we are. That's the first thing. There's no treatment without knowing what you're treating. So let's understand who we are as a people. Let's really not be reactionary. And what you really brought to bear today is that really simply, it's not one against the other. Everyone who has done anything has done it for the good of Cameroon the best they could, and it has gotten us this far. And now we've got to take it to the next. And maybe for the first time, the challenge as we see is not pointing fingers, how is Shirimo, the angel who's going to save us and this and that, but maybe for the first time, the angels would be you and myself. That's really what I'm getting, Herman. And it's really emotional when you talk about, you know, a canon. It is so amazing because this is somebody whose blood, he's not even been buried yet, and we're almost moving on. These are the continuous things that are happening. And so I'm going back to it, and I really ask you to forgive me repeating so much. We're going to have to take action, you and me, and we who are here and listening today, we're going to start. I promise you, I will call my 5, most likely more. Eric has some work for me. I know that too. He has people I need to call. But I'm going to say, you're 5, just 5. If you do nothing, ask 5 people this week. That's going to be $50. And you will be surprised people who will give 100 because they were asked, are we asking enough? Okay. We're going to watch this video. It's a little clip. And let's reflect on it. And then we're going to have Eric come in and give his reflections as we close. So here we go.
Je vous aime.
Okay, is it? I'm sorry, I don't know what is going. Okay, let's try it again.
Chers amis que je pars, je vous aime et je pars.
Well, thanks, Elizabeth. I know we're winding up. That was short, to the point. As you can see, there were 2 people who are part of the Sicilian gang, or the Womeka gang, if you want to call them that. There was Mr. Ngongo playing the piano. And then, of course, the Minister of Public Works, who has been the most visible crime boss, because people, you know, infrastructure is part of it, is a big problem we have. And it was put into music by a young brother called Alain. You must have seen Chamal. Actually, is the stage name. He's an AI guru, and he's used AI to express a lot of the pains and the problems and the issues of our country. And we're going to have Alain here, maybe next week or the week after, but certainly in one of our next editions, so that he can not only share some of the stuff he does with us, but also explain, talk to us about his concept of the crisis that our country is going through. So we just thought we'll introduce him that way, but he does a whole lot more. For those of you who have not seen any of his products, just check on the web, Chamal, Tchamal. I think Alain lives in Washington, if I'm not mistaken, but I know he's somewhere in the United States. So we'll have him next week. We will try to focus on, for next week, there's just so much going on with regard to our resources. And we want to dive deep into that next week, the oil resources. You may have heard of the new oil and gas fields of not far from Kribi. It's in a place called Yolanda gas fields. That's what they call it. It's about to, be exploited, and we want to be sure that this new wealth is exploited under the right conditions, and not again having a contract signed and bank accounts opened in offshore places. So we will talk about that next week. We'll bring some specialists who know exactly what they're talking about, and they will address this in the hope that all of us will not only be educated, but figure out ways of ensuring that we can either stop the process or ensure that what comes out of it is for the good of the nation. So a lot of this will be happening next week. I just, there are lots of things we can do, and I thought we should just, throw in some of the things we can do from wherever we are, from New York, from Houston, Atlanta, Washington, London, Paris, all of these places. Any one of us who's in any of the capitals around the world, in Africa and so on, there are things we can do. And I hope that as we wind up this program, we all have our marching orders in terms of what we can do to ensure that Cameroon gets back on track. And one of the things would be to invite all of us from wherever we are, from whether we're in New York or Houston, whether we're in Atlanta or Washington DC, from London or Paris, Yaoundé or Johannesburg. There's just so much we each can do to change the nature of the game in as far as Cameroon is concerned. We can stop the borrowing spree that the country has engaged in for most of the last few years now, and hold our debt, stop increasing the debt. So there's a whole lot we can do individually, and part of this show, this program, is to invite all of us to look at the small things each of us can do to ensure that Cameroon gets to a better place than where it is right now. Elizabeth, I think we're kind of about to wind up, right?
Oh, we are. We absolutely are.
Okay.
We are concluding. So are you good? Okay.
Yes, I'm good. I was just wondering if there are any more speakers, that we've identified who want to say something.
I want to ask Angeline.
Yes, Angeline.
Angeline, if you have anything to say as we go off, in terms of call to action, I think that we should not get past that. What would you say? What will be your concluding statement? Thank you.
Well, I think we can be very creative, Eli, and not just think about the traditional ways that we give. Each of us should actually look deep within ourselves and say, what can we do for our country? It is our country, after all. It's the land of our birth, and as we always say, it's like, do not forget where you came from. Remember where you came from. And again, the moral compass, I mentioned that think about that what is it at stake for you? What is at stake for the people that you love that are still in Cameroon? We can do so much. Again, when I look around me, everybody's trying to lose weight, right? But we keep eating. We can forego a meal, a lunch a week, a dinner a week, and just send that money to Project C. I'm saying I'm all for the monthly contributions. Make that, again, like you said, an obligation. It's an obligation. If I give up a meal, I don't eat that meal, I do not gain that pound. We are trying to lose weight. All of us are trying to lose weight. I don't know anybody around me who is trying to gain weight. I don't know. But if you can give that up, and again, I'm talking about me. I lose so much money during the week, and I don't know what I did with the money. I really don't. Sometimes I'll buy a meal and throw the meal out because I don't like it, right? That's wastage. Let's stop the waste. Let's redirect that money to Project C. I am doing that. Who is going to join me? Who is going to join me? Please join me. Let's make an impact. Let's make a great impact for Cameroon. We love that country. Thank you all.
Hey, thank you so much, Angelina. There's so much there. You were talking and I was calculating. What if $20 is what we can save a week for lunch? We're not, because you said just the one day. I times that by 4. You guys, you won't believe it. It was $80. Whoa. So I thought, wow, maybe you could, and I'm just helping suggestions here. I know how busy we are. Maybe it could be $80 a month, could be your monthly contribution. And then you start this week with your 2020. Remember, we're building and every week we will be showing you. So that's just one idea, and, if for that weight, you may be losing and gaining, right? We're losing in places we want to lose, and then we're gaining where we want to gain. Okay. So we should find a slogan. Guys, we're all involved in this. This is not one person. What I want as we leave today is for us, myself included, to stop thinking somebody has to do something. We're going to say, I have to do something. What do I do? And let other people do their somethings, right? Mm-hmm. Together, we can do more. Yeah. But we're no longer, as of today, going to come in quickly. Oh, I can't wait what Project C has to say. And then we get in Project C and put our precious time and then leave. We can't do that. When we do that, people are dying, as we've heard. And we should also know that it's not one word or one thing that's going to solve this. We've given you some of the things. The one big thing we're doing is we are going to get this book of Shiroma that was spread throughout the diaspora, but would go, and other presidents, other countries, other world organizations will read this book to know who this man is, because we don't know. So when Eric was talking, I wrote down 3 things that we can leave with. Because I got from what he was saying is create more awareness, create more awareness by, maybe spreading the word with the links that we are all throughout the world, so that other people can get to understand what's going on and know that this is not business as usual in Cameroon. Cameroonian people are at the verge of waking up, and they're about to take action that's going to bring down the government. And it's so amazing that when you have a lot of people doing something, we just do a little bit each. But if we are depending on people, then it becomes harder. And that's why this is changing. That's the corner we're turning. So create an awareness. And then also really being active. Part of being active is to be here on Saturday. So when you get the link, this specific link is the link we're using. So feel free to send that out. But when you get the link, this link is what you're going to be distributing. So you also now creating your own, network. Are you with me? And it's not one necessarily that you need to man or manage. It is just a network of sending things out. Are we together? Just do your announcement on WhatsApp. You can put names. They don't even have to know they're in a group, and you just send it out. Every time you're sending out, people are taking note. I've had people who've looked several times and then just got in here one day and said, let me get in here and see what they kept sending to me. So that's one. And then, so that's two, okay? Create awareness, be here on Saturday, and at the same time, be a part of Project C. Have you visited the website? We keep talking about the vision, the mission. Have you been on the website yet? Have you been on www.projectcameroon.com? Project Cameroon. Online is Project Cameroon, Project Cameroon. Have you been there? Well, the link is on the chat. You can take that to pass it on. So you personally want to be, and that's part of what, I keep going back to Fese, that's what you want to be a part of. Are you with me? Knowing who you are. And then last but not least, the absolute action that every one of us can do is to decide today. First of all, today, test yourself, put in $20, but then send that to other people so that they can contribute. So today alone, because of you, we can get $20 times 5, $100. Are you with me? And then we will be publishing that. And it doesn't matter if we only get to $50, but by golly, I tell you, we will be putting this out every single week. So we would see the reflection of ourselves as a people from, from Cameroon, who own we are the governance. We have the governance of our country. So create awareness, be on the calls on Saturday, be an active member of Project C by showing up through the WhatsApp group, getting their announcements, knowing what is on the website so you can send it to other people, because you are the ones building. Please, have you realized Project C is not one person? There's so many invisible people. Project C is you and it's me. We have fought so hard. I remember many times Eric talking about why we don't want a president, why we don't want all this typical organizational names, because it has to belong to the people and control has to be really soft on the side, loose. But within that, let the power of the people rise. And I sure do hope that's what we've been putting out. I sure do hope that's what you feel. And I sure do hope that you know you are part of this and that the power of Project C and its continuation is you. So money is where we end with, and money is what we will start with. Let's give ourselves permission to do that. So thank you so much. We will be back on next week, and we look forward to seeing you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Elizabeth, and thanks, everybody. And I think, Elizabeth, I thought we should also express a deep sense of gratitude to the Project C strategy team, some of whom are here, but we don't have, I don't see, we need to tell people like Judith Mwana and Mike.
They're all at the funeral. We have a funeral right now going on in St. Louis.
That's right. Just to say thank you to them. Yes. We know they're not here, but they play such an important role in all the work we're doing. I think it's important to recognize that. Angeline is here, Eugène, and so many other people. I think we need to express some special gratitude to all of them. And hopefully next week this conversation will continue, but we'll bring some fascinating people next week to the table.
It's great, Eric. I am not about entertainment. We will bring and have a discussion. That's true, Eric. Thank you. I am here today to challenge us to be the entertainment. Let's bring ourselves here. Yeah. That's really what we're heading. We're bringing ourselves to the table. All right. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Merci.